made 2 loans to your wife. You want those 2 loans repaid.
Yes.
You also claim that when she moved out of a house that you own, she took property that did not belong to her.
Correct.
She had been living in a house that you purchased at some point after the divorce in order to give your wife and daughter a home. She had what you term a rent-to-buy situation with the home.
Correct.
She was supposed to make the payments on the mortgage. Subsequently, you claim that she failed to maintain the house. You took possession of the house, and when she moved out, she took property from the house of certain appliances and things that belonged to you.
Correct.
Your former wife says that you did, in fact, make 1 loan to her for some bills. That loan was repaid with certain small cash payments and a pool table that she gave you in exchange for the rest of the money. The second loan that you made to her was really not a loan, which was something that had to do with the line of credit that you had on the house. And since now you have the house, it's your problem. And the property that was taken from the house was hers. That's your defense?
Yes.
Okay. When was the first loan and why, Mr. Roadcap?
The first loan was in November of 2005, and it was for $1,855, and it was because she had gotten
behind in her bills.
She had just resigned from the job that she had.
Did she call you?
Yes.
And what did she say when she called you?
She needed money to catch up on some of the bills and to get the kids Christmas gifts.
What arrangements did you make for repayment?
She had notified me that when she got her tax check back at the first of the year, that she would pay me in full then.
What happened when you got your tax check back, Miss Adams?
That wasn't the agreement at all. The $2,000 that I had borrowed from Daniel, he actually got it from a separate line of credit that he had for a bank that he used, or
don't make things more complicated than they are. You borrowed $2,000. He says $1,855. You say $2,000.
Those are 2 separate loans, Your Honor.
I'm talking about the $1,855 loan.
The $1,855 came from that home equity line of credit. I paid that every month myself. That was part of our rent-to-own agreement for the house. That was actually my bill. It was never meant to be repaid to him. I paid that $130 a month for as long as I lived in the home.
Just a second. $1,855 in November of 2005. And you say that you totally paid for that loan from your home equity line of credit.
Completely paid for. I paid it, well, I paid 7 payments. He knows of 5 payments I paid on it. So he's actually asking for $1,833 when he knows that I paid at least 5 of those payments already.
Well, just show me.
I don't have that with me.
Well, this is where you need it, madam. This is where you need it. This is
Yes.
court. This is what you're coming for. All you have to do is show me that after November 5th, on this revolving line of credit that you had, you made payments. Show me.
If he has, I don't know.
Not he, your check.
Well, there should be some kind of proof to saying when is the last payment I paid in the house.
Miss Adams.
I don't have that.
Miss Adams, all I want are your checks.
I don't have it with me.
Well, it's unfortunate. $1,855. When was the next loan?
That was at the end of November, which was $1,128, and that was $2,000.
What was that for?
That was, I didn't have the money all at once, so I had to isolate and get 2 different loans. Here's the copies of the checks.
She acknowledges that you gave her that money, $3,855. How much was repaid?
She made $80. She made December and January, so it was 2 payments made on the $80, and the home equity line of credit was late January, February, and not at all in March, and she tried to make it again late in April, and it was too late then. By then, the home equity line of credit was already, she defaulted.
She made 2 payments. Is that correct?
On the $2,000, yes, ma'am.
What about on the $1,855?
She made 3 payments.
So that's 5 altogether of
yes,
$160. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, what else?
At the time, we had a property agreement that she had a rent-to-own. She defaulted on her contract, so at that time, I took over the payments, and she had till June the 1st to get the house and everything in her name, and she did not do that. So July the 1st, she had to move out, which I asked her if she didn't want to move out, she could have rented it, but she chose not to. At that point, she left July the 1st, and she left the house like this.
Can I see it, please?
I took 8 truckloads of trash out of the house. It is a...
There was nothing left in the house when I moved out of the house.
Including the refrigerator and stuff.
How many children do you have, Miss
I have 3
Adams?
children.
Only one of them is yours?
Correct.
How old are the other 2 children?
My oldest will be 13 this month, and I have a 10-year-old son.
Are they living with you?
Not at this time.
Who do they live with?
Well, my oldest daughter, for about 6 months now, has lived with her father in California. And my son, I guess he is with my mom since Daniel took the house.
Okay, the house is a mess. Who bought the appliances?
I did. Here's the receipts for them. I
Your
have
Honor.
2 receipts.
Can I see the
I have 2 receipts because I can't measure, and I had to take one refrigerator back. It didn't fit. So I have
And Your
a
Honor,
glass top stove.
I also have a copy here of the refrigerator I purchased when I bought the house. The house was brand new. It didn't have appliances in it when I first bought it, or got it from him. And
It had no
I had
appliances.
to purchase those things.
Just a second. It had no appliances. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, it didn't have refrigerators. It did have a stove, which was accidentally taken from the movers on the last day. I've mentioned to Daniel that he can go get it. It's in the storage building. He doesn't want that. He'd much rather keep me in court over and over again.
Shh, just a second. Why did you take the stove if you didn't buy it?
I had told the movers, it was just some friends of mine, I wasn't there that day, I told them to go get the refrigerators and the washer and dryer, and they just took the stove.
Well, that was a mistake.
Yes, and I have it, and I've told him he can go get it.
He doesn't have
numerous
to go
times.
get it. Why should he have to go through the expense of going to get it?
It's right there in town, where, like, just a couple blocks from where I
Well,
live. He
then
has a
you
big
go-
truck, I don't,
then
and
you-
he and I was friends this whole time. And until May, when I got married, Daniel and I was friends. All these agreements was made with us being friends. That's why I don't have documentation of this and that and this and that.
Well, what happened, Miss Adams, is that you got married in May and planned to move daughter and his daughter to another state.
My husband's in the military.
I don't care whether he is in the military or he's in the circus. You can't take his child away.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You don't want to discuss with me why you, who have 3 children, don't have any of them living with you, do you? And it's not because he took your house away.
And later today,
Alcohol basically has ruined.
wife Dorothy Adams owes for loans and for taking his property from their shared home. Dorothy says Daniel is angry over her new marriage.
When did you tell him that you were planning to move to Georgia? When did she tell you?
About May 2nd.
And when was the move going to take place?
I had no idea. It was very discreet.
When was the move to take place?
Well, my husband's
no,
still in...
just give me a date.
It'll be after January of this year before I could even possibly move. He's still in AIT.
When were you planning to move?
That's what I gave him, an indefinite, like way back, like several months from then.
Is that right? What did she tell you?
I had no idea she was in a separate relationship, and they broke up
Look at me.
April 24th.
Yeah.
At May 15th, she was married to another guy I had never met, my daughter had never met, and she said that she was going to be moving out of state.
Your Honor, the reason why Daniel didn't know of my new marriage and of my expectations and what I was planning on getting from that is because of these. These are his legal records showing that Daniel is not Mr. Sweet Kind, here, let me help you out here. He's got assault and battery. He's got shoot and throw missiles at an occupied vehicle.
I don't care, madam. Listen to me. It has nothing to do with this. You don't want to discuss with me why you, who have 3 children, don't have any of them living with you, do you?
No, but this is why I wanted to get out of the
listen to me.
state.
Listen to me. And it's not because he took your house away. I mean, if you have 3 children, somebody takes your house away, you don't let your children go someplace else with your mother, with their other father. You go to a shelter someplace. You get a job and you get an apartment. So we don't have to go into history. The only issue that I have before me is whether you owe him this money and whether you took the refrigerator and the stoves that he purchased. And why, after what apparently was a reasonable period between the 2 of you having been divorced, he had a house, you were in the house with your 3 children, you needed money, you called him, he loaned you money. Problem was when you married somebody that he didn't know and you told him you're taking your kids and you're moving hundreds of miles away. And he said, what, are you crazy? You're not going to take my daughter. You may take your other 2 children. Their fathers may not care, but you're not taking my daughter away. And then you got angry, and you left the house like a trash bin, and you took property that didn't belong to you. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Until I come up with something, concrete against him.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Austin versus Atwater Mayfield. Step forward, please.
26-year-old retail salesperson Courtney Austin is suing her former friend, maintenance technician Fred Atwater, and his fiancée, 23-year-old restaurant manager Sylvia Mayfield, for collect calls from jail, gas money, and lost wages. Fred and Sylvia are countersuing for harassment.
Miss Austin.
Yes.
According to your complaint, you and Mr. Atwater dated for a little while. Then he went to jail.
Yes.
Why is that funny?
Because we never dated, Your Honor. It was just on.
I said to her, according to her complaint,
Okay.
the two of you dated for a while and then you went to jail. I didn't think the going to jail part was funny. And while he was in jail, he made a series of collect calls to you.
Correct.
And it went something like this. He would call you and ask you to connect him on a three-way call
Correct.
to this lady here.
Initially, it was his sister.
Well, that's what he told you.
That's what he told me.
But I said to this lady here,
Yes.
who happens to be his fiancée or girlfriend.
Yes.
Shh. Now, every time he called you collect, it cost you $2.70.
Correct.
So you want him to pay for that.
Correct.
And then after you found out that he had this girlfriend, somehow you became friendly enough with her so that she asked you to drive her up to jail to pay his bail.
Correct.
And not only did you do that once, you did it twice.
Correct.
And now, Miss Austin, you're bothering me because you want the money back for the collect calls that you accepted and your gas and time when you took her to jail.
That he said he was going to pay for.
Let's go back. You met him when?
He introduced himself by leaving this note on my car.
Okay. Where did he see you?
He works in my complex.
Okay. So it worked. I didn't have to see that. He left a note on your car.
Yes.
You got to know him. According to him, you were friends. According to you, you dated for a little while. What I want to get to is, because I have other things to do today, and this is particularly fascinating to me when women do stupid things, I get frustrated. At first, he told you when he went to jail, by the way, what did you go to jail for?
Child support order.
Drug abuse and hitting her.
Was it a civil commitment or a criminal commitment?
It was civil.
Civil.
You hit her, and that's how
Shut
you got in
up,
jail.
shut up! He told you when he called you from jail that the person he wanted you to connect him to was his sister. How many such phone calls did you accept under the assumption that you were connecting him to his sister?
One.
And after that, you heard that it was his girlfriend.
No, I didn't know it was his girlfriend until she called me back trying to figure out who was three-waying the calls for him.
And how many calls had you accepted up until that time?
2 or 3.
And how many did you accept after you knew that she was the girlfriend?
It says here 35.
So, now we know that he's lied to you.
Yes.
And he's in jail.
Yes.
Why would you believe that he's going to pay you for these calls when he's lied to you about who the person is?
He's not from that area. Me just moving from Los Angeles to Georgia, I was trying to put myself in his position, needing a friend. So I was trying to look out for him. It wasn't like I was trying to make him my husband, my man, or anything like that. We were friends. And in that, he told me that he had after I found out he had a girlfriend, and I took her, I felt sorry for her that she was with him.
You know who the only person I feel sorry for right now? Miss Austin, how much did it cost you, all this stupidity of yours? How much in phone calls?
Between 150 and 175.
No, between 150 and 175 is not an answer when you're in court.
150. $150.
Now, Mr. Atwater,
Yes, ma'am.
who's supposed to pay that $150?
Well, since we were friends, I appreciate the call she did accept for me, but
Why didn't she collect the call?
They ain't
one
have a
thing-
phone at the house.
Quiet.
for one thing, Your Honor, we had a cell phone. We didn't have a household phone then at the time, and we couldn't make collect calls to her. So I thought I would call her, and she was notified before she accepted the call, $270 per call. She had an option to hang
It
up
does
or
not say
accept.
that.
If you say one more word, I'm just going to throw you out. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Good.
She was opted to either accept the call or not to.
Did you tell her that you would pay her back for
I
these
never
calls?
told Courtney I would pay her. She told me every time I would call her and she do the three-way, she'll tell me to hang up and call right back.
I don't know what that means.
Okay, like you get 15 minutes for $2.70. So after the phone call, the 15 minutes is up, she would tell me to hang up and call right back.
And you would do that?
Yes.
And
She accept the call every time.
I didn't.
Sorry.
Am I looking in your direction?
No.
Mr. Atwater?
Yes.
Is it your statement to me that you never said to Miss Austin, please do this collect calls because we have no phone in our house, so if you do this for me, I'll pay you back when I get out?
I never told her I was going to pay her.
I don't believe that. See, that I don't believe. That I don't believe. I believe you told her you'd pay her back for the phone calls. That's
Your
one
Honor.
bit of stupidity. You may not have meant it, Mr. Atwater.
Your Honor,
I'm speaking What did you ever do for her?
I never did anything for her.
That's what I mean. Why in the world?
Because we were friends, Your Honor. That's all we were, friends.
I'm speaking. Did Miss Mayfield know that she was your friend?
Not at the time. She was in Miami at the time.
Exactly.
And I did.
Quiet! Just to answer my question. I said, did Miss Mayfield know that Miss Austin was your fiancée? And you said no. That's the only information that I need. Now, as far as taking her to and from the jail, tell me how that came about. Fast!
Basically, he told me that he was going to pay me the money when he got out. She needed to go pay his bail money. She had $500. His employer put up the other $500. I took her to go get the money from the employer. We went. We didn't make it that day. I had to take her back the next day to go pay his bail. They wouldn't release him because he had a drug charge and he had hit her, which is originally why he went to jail. Then we had to go the next day, something about getting his clothes because the county would put him in jail.
You didn't have to do anything.
No, I didn't. I did it out of goodness of my heart.
That's right. So then don't bother me about it if you did it out of the
No, he
goodness
told me
of
he
your
was
heart.
going to pay me for it. It wasn't like he said he was going to pay
Miss
me
Austin,
for my trouble.
Miss Austin, you did not have a contract with Mr. Atwater, and you certainly
I
didn't
do
have
have one
contract
right
with
here.
Mayfield.
Yes, I do.
Good, then let me see it. Exactly what I said, Miss Austin. It says you can threaten us all you want. We'll pay for your phone bill. Nowhere does it say that they're going to pay for you taking her to and from jail. I believe that he said to you, if you accept these collect calls, I'll put your hand down. That he agreed to pay for the phone bill, but for nothing else. So that's your claim, $150. Now, you have a counterclaim for harassment.
Yes.
Get to it fast.
Okay, and that statement right there, what she has on the second page, that was after she brought the cops to our house. So we put it in writing. The cop told her to go ahead, take it to the courtroom, and file the claim. And she did that.
Just a second.
And she did that.
You said here, I'm going to pay you the money for the phone bill. Stop bothering me.
Exactly.
Right.
But she never stopped.
Let's get to your counterclaim. You've got a counterclaim for harassment for $500. I'm going to hear you. 10 seconds or less.
The harassing emails, taking notes to our door, bringing the cops to our apartment complex, where that is not tolerated. We cannot have no kind of commotion going on.
Why didn't you pay her phone bill?
Because I never did tell her that, Your Honor.
I don't believe that. And she was trying to collect a debt. You're not supposed to take advantage of people, Mr. Atwater.
Yes.
You're not supposed to take advantage of people's feelings and emotions. One girlfriend is in Florida. One friend is here. Friendships usually work both ways. She does a favor for you, you do a favor for her. You did no favors for her. You were a taker. You have to pay her back for the phone. Put your hand down. Are you still bothering them?
No.
Good. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $150. Your counterclaim's dismissed.
Thank you.
Parties are excused, Miss. Step out.
She did it out of spite. That's all it was. That's out of spite. She thought we had something going on when it was just a basic friendship.
No, definitely not. He's not my type.
After I told her that we were going to get engaged or whatever, she had stopped all the calls and started harassing us.
One of those trips where I went to go pick up the money, I drove myself.
She didn't drive herself. I drove her twice.
The second time she did take me, but I also paid for gas and food while we were down there.
She did pay gas money. She didn't feed me. The food was no.
I didn't know her, so I wasn't going to ask her to take me anywhere. That was his friend.
I'm happy with the telephone bill.
I have no hard feeling with Courtney.
I just get satisfaction in knowing he'll be back in jail soon and no one else will take his calls.
Michael and Robin Thompson claim former neighbor Suzanne Statham owes for harassment and vandalism to their car. Suzanne is countersuing, claiming Michael vandalized her front lawn.
Mr. and Mrs. Thompson, you rented a house in a neighborhood where Mrs. Statham has been a homeowner for many, many years. According to your complaint, for some strange reason, she didn't like you and your family from the beginning and created a situation that ultimately ended in your moving from the house. You are suing her for filing false charges with Child Protective Services, vandalism, and for harassment. Ms. Statham says that while she acknowledges that she called Child Protective Services, she believes she had good cause to do that. And with regard to the vandalism, she said she would never vandalize your car. However, she has proof that you did vandalize her property, and she is counterclaiming. When did you move into this house?
January 2004.
And how many people moved into the house?
5.
Yourself and 3 children?
Yes.
How old are your 3 children?
5, 10, and 16.
Boys, girls?
Two oldest are boys, youngest is a girl.
Okay, so tell me about the first confrontation that you had, allegedly, with Ms. Statham with regard to these false charges with Child Protective Services.
The first was February 2004.
Is that correct, Ms. Statham?
I called. I don't remember exactly when I called.
Fine. Tell me why you called Child Protective Services.
I was concerned.
Well, tell me what made you concerned.
The reason I was concerned is because they would not be there when the boy came home.
Which boy?
It's the oldest boy. I was concerned about his well-being.
Well, tell me what made you concerned.
Because he was left out.
What do you mean left out?
They wouldn't be home when he came home from school. When it was bad weather, he'd be outside, sitting on the porch. I'd let him use my phone to call whomever, and they would come home and let him in.
Yes.
Then he told me that he was living in a tent in the backyard.
Yes.
Sleeping there.
When he said he was sleeping in a tent in the backyard, was the connotation his parents didn't let him in the house?
I kind of, you know, felt sorry for him. I did. I felt like it was, I don't know. He just told me, quote, unquote.
No, that's, they didn't say, well, I sleep in a tent in the backyard. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.
No.
That Miss Statham, that didn't happen. If you were having a conversation with him and you were talking to him about other things, and he may have said, I sleep in the backyard in a tent, that's my own private space, I like it back there. That sounds more logical to me. Is that what happened?
Well, he told me that he was living in a tent in the backyard, and he liked it. And I said, well, isn't it cold back there?
And what did he say?
He says, oh, I've got a lot of covers.
Yeah.
Okay, and there were so many nights that he was out late at night playing basketball that I heard him. And I was just concerned that he was out at 10, 11 o'clock at night.
Well, yeah, it's pretty snoopy. Shh. I'm just telling you, that's pretty snoopy. We're talking about a 16-year-old boy being out at 10 or 11 o'clock at night and saying to you that I sleep in a tent in the backyard and I sleep under covers and I'm very happy. Do you have teenage children?
I've had teenage children.
Did they ever do anything that was bizarre?
Oh, yes, they did.
A lot of things that are bizarre.
Okay.
Well, and now if they want to go out in the backyard and sleep in a teepee or in a tree house, you know, you're just lucky that they don't want their own condo.
Okay. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay. And then I did say something, you know, as far as I raised my children alone, and latchkey kids had keys, and I mentioned it to Mr. Thompson.
What did you say to him?
I said, you know, like, if they're going to be latchkey kids, at least they could have a key.
For my own information, is there a reason why the 16-year-old didn't have a key to the house?
He loses keys, so we don't personally give him one. There's a lockbox out front with the key in it. And the time frame that he was left alone would be the time that we had to go pick up our other two children and then come back. So we come back usually around 4 o'clock. So he's not out all night long. It's only about 30 minutes.
Okay. I mean, I just indicated that I felt as if her interfering in what was going on in your house, because based upon what she says, there was nothing so untoward that, in my judgment, as a seasoned family court practitioner, would have inspired another neighbor to pick up the phone and call Child Protective Services. 16-year-old being out in the street playing basketball at 10 o'clock at night is not neglect, and certainly a 16-year-old who chooses, with parental permission, I gather, to sleep out in a tent rather than to sleep in the house is not abuse.
It wasn't a tent either. It's a shed, as you would call it.
With electricity,
carpeting, a fan, a heater,
Why
TV.
was he sleeping out there?
Well, he would sleep out there when he wanted to, but he wasn't opening the lockbox to go into the house, so we created an environment for him in the back after school to go play videos, do his homework, whatever.
Have his own personal
Because
space.
it was a rainy season. We didn't want him outside, but he was too lazy to unlock the box. So that's a 16-year-old.
Right. Now, I want you to describe to me the other forms of what you claim to be harassment.
Okay. Several times there was debris all over our vehicles. A dead rat was put on our car in the morning. After the dead rat incident, we installed a surveillance camera.
This was in September 8th. When I went out to my car, we had already moved the basketball hoop because there were 18 reports to the county where our landlord called us and said, look, you need to move the basketball hoop from the street.
So it's one of these portable things that you put out there that
Correct.
really isn't supposed to be out there, so somebody called and complained. I assume that was you. I cannot, well, I can fault her. I cannot say to Miss Statham, who acknowledges that she called the town, she probably called the landlord about this basketball hoop. If it's not supposed to be there, she's within her rights to call.
Right.
Okay. So she was not a good neighbor, but now we're going to get to the vandalism.
Right.
So you installed a video camera.
After the dead rat.
After a dead rat. Now, Miss Statham says there was no way she would vandalize your car. Tell me what you found on your car after you installed the video camera.
In the morning, the wife went out. She said there was rocks and debris all over the hood of the car. So I rewound the tape and saw Miss Statham turn her porch light off, come outside, have a cigarette, go through her garden, walk over to the vehicle, throw something on the windshield of the car, and you can hear it hit. And she brushes her hands off and walks back in the house.
I assume that since I see that tape there, that's something that you want me to see. Now, before I see the tape, Miss Statham, did you or did you not vandalize
I
their
did
car?
not.
That's all I want to know.
You can see her porch light's on. She turns off her light. When she comes outside, you'll see her.
Just a second.
There
You
she
see her
is.
they're walking over to the car, and you can hear it. You can hear it hit the windshield, and then she walks back into the house.
She always turns off her porch light when she goes outside.
The reason
to
my porch
smoke.
light is off right there, Your Honor, is because they have those bright lights on me right now.
What were you doing out there, madam?
Well, I had a cigarette. I was just checking, you know.
No. If you...
I mean, you can't walk out at 10 o'clock. I didn't do anything. I did not throw anything at their car. I swear. I didn't.
So now you can tell me what kind of damage there was to your car.
We have pictures here of the damage.
Can I see, please?
Yes, ma'am. There's a 3-inch crack on the top of the windshield. We took a picture of the car far apart and closer in, and there's also a picture of the surveillance camera.
Did you file a police report, Mr. Thompson,
Yes,
after
ma'am.
this
We have a
incident
copy
of
of
September
that.
5th? Can I see it, please? Anything happen after that?
Yeah, there was an incident where someone went through our car. She screamed at us and our children about the way that our lawn was kept. She sent her son over to talk to us because she said some foul language to us, and we
And our
responded
children.
back to
It was
her.
bad language.
Oh, yes.
Well, that was the wrong thing to do.
So she sent her son over to try and make peace with us.
Is their son here? That's you? Stand up, please. Tell me your name.
My name is Sean Rafferty.
How long has it been since you lived with your mother?
Since I was 16, 17 years old.
Is that when you left?
Yes, ma'am.
Why'd you leave?
I was grown up.
You were grown up at 16?
I felt so.
Just a minute. And you think you were right?
Yes.
So if you wanted to live outside in the backyard in a tent, up a tree, in a subway, or any place else, that would have been okay. Because you're a big boy. You're 16, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Now, there came a time, according to the Thompsons, when you went over to their home in order to try to make peace. Why did you think you had to make peace?
Well, because the night before, my mom called and she was scared because he would back his truck into the driveway so his headlights were facing at her and put his high beams on and leave them on. And I know my mom's a little nosy, as you said, so I know she's hard to live with. So I just walked over, knocked on the door, asked for the man of the house, you know, put my hand out to greet him, give him my name, and, you know, can we just let this be over? I apologize for her bugging you, and, you know, I know that she could do that because she...
That's why you left when you were 16. Go.
But, you know, he didn't want to have anything to do with me.
What
He
did, no.
pulled-
What did he say?
To say verbatim, I don't know exactly what
Well,
he
if
said.
you
I
went
just-
over there, and I assume when you went over there, you were sober.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that right?
No, ma'am.
No.
He wasn't falling over drunk, but he did have something to drink. We don't drink.
Because,
We
Mr.
can smell it.
Rafferty, you got a little bit of a problem?
No, ma'am.
You do. Because it's early in the day, and I can tell you got a little bit of a problem, Mr. Rafferty. A little bit. So when you went over there, I doubt whether you went over stone sober. What did he say to you when he came over?
When he first came to the door, he said, basically, that's my mother across the street. And I remember saying, I'm sorry to hear that. And he kind of had an attitude at first.
No, what did he say? Don't tell me he had an attitude.
He was just kind of rambling on, telling me that his mother drinks on certain days. She's very nosy. She just wants you to cut your lawn the way she likes it. Clean up the trash from the side, which we cleaned out our garage, so our trash cans were full, so we had to wait till the next trash day. So she didn't like that fact. And then he calmed down, I guess, and you know, tried to apologize for his mother.
And said, let it just go.
Correct.
And what did you say to him?
That's fine. Tell your mother, leave us alone. We don't want nothing to do with her. Don't talk to us. Don't talk to our children. Stay away from us. And we also sent her a letter to that effect.
Can I see the letter?
Yes, ma'am. This was sent on July 6th.
Okay. Now, Mr. Thompson, Miss Statham says that she has a witness. I assume that would be you. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Who's going to testify on her behalf that he saw you damage her property. Is that true?
No, ma'am. I say he's a liar.
Well, I'm going to be able to tell if he's a liar, because that's my job. And I'm usually pretty good at it. Okay. Mr. Rafferty, you can sit down. Tell me your name.
Richard J. Machado.
Where do you live?
Manteca.
Is that near where Miss Statham lives?
Right next door.
You're going to describe something to me, something that you allegedly saw?
Yes, ma'am.
When?
In the early hour of the morning. I had got up to go to the restroom. It was about after 3 o'clock.
Give me the date.
The 17th.
Miss Statham, don't speak.
No. I got it written down on paper. 17th.
17th of what?
May, after 3 o'clock in the morning. And then her dogs start barking. Then I went to the window and raised the blind to see why they were barking. And Mr. Thompson was on the bottom of her driveway. I could see him come up the driveway and in a sweeping motion throw some fluid out and then walk to the edge of the property towards where his car was parked on her side and dabbled around there on the lawn on the edge. There was arm motion, but he had his back to me. So I don't know what he was doing at that time, but I know that he was making motion.
Okay.
And then was standing in front of it like he was admiring his work. And then
you saw this, and there are street lights out there. Is that what you're telling me?
Well,
I'm not asking you anything. Okay. Is that what you're telling me?
Well, yeah, because he has 2 spotlights facing her house, and then put a video camera in, and then to harass more, he even put a big sign in the middle of his lawn that says, "Vandal neighbor acquire within."
Miss Statham, I'd like to see the photographs of what you in the morning.
Okay.
And, Your Honor, we have a letter from Miss Statham. According to her, it happened May 14th.
The 14th was...
Shh. Mr. Thompson.
Yes, ma'am.
Somebody clearly poured something on her lawn.
I understand.
I don't know. I can only get out something. Oh, it probably says wacko. K-U. C-K-U.
The 4-letter word, ma'am.
Oh, something really nasty. I thought it was
Right.
wacko. Oh, strike that. Okay, somebody clearly wrote in something caustic on her lawn. Mr. Thompson, I believe that would be you.
No, ma'am.
Well, you see, that's my job, because I have to make a judgment whether this gentleman is making this up. Now, why don't I think he's making it up? I don't think he's making up that it happened, because clearly it happened.
Oh, it did happen. Not by me.
I don't think that she did it to herself. That didn't happen. I don't think that he did it. I don't even think that her son, when he wasn't in total control, did it. So, it was you. Maybe it was your 16-year-old son. Who knows? But whether it was you or your 16-year-old son, that's your responsibility. So somebody from your house did it, which was as juvenile as what was going on from her end.
But no, ma'am, we did not do it.
Well, you say no, I say yes. I have the last word because I'm the judge. That's what they pay me for. I also believe that Miss Statham threw something at your car. And she'll say she didn't do it. She'll say it didn't happen. And I'm telling her that I believe it did happen. I believe that the two of you acted like very bad neighbors, but I believe she started it. I believe that she's a snoop. I believe that she's a busybody. I believe that she probably didn't like the way renters were taking care of this house that was rented, all kinds of things, none of which is any of her busybody business. I'm not saying it's true, and I'm not saying she was right. I'm saying she's a big old busybody, and she's a big old pain in the neck. That's what Mom is, and that's why you left. She's a busybody who's got nothing else to do with her time but mind other people's businesses.
But
that is not a lawsuit.
But she harassed us. And
listen to me.
No, CPS coming over not once but twice, pulling our children out of school,
Listen
checking
to me.
their bodies.
Listen to me. You're absolutely right. She says, I was concerned over a 16-year-old.
No, she thought he was 13.
Pay careful attention to what I'm saying to you. You, A, have no proof that she called CPS twice. She acknowledges she called once, not twice. You have any proof she called twice? You have any proof she called twice? The answer is yes or no.
No.
All right. The fact that they took your children out of school is very unfortunate. She's a busybody. She's just been dressed down in front of 10 million people.
Yep.
And she had no right to do it. That is not actionable unless you can prove some sort of malice, which you cannot. And the way you respond to that is not bleaching her lawn.
We didn't
did
do
not do
that.
that.
Okay, I find that you did. Did you move?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you happy?
Oh, yes.
Goodbye and good luck. Have a happy life. And Miss State, you're not always going to get neighbors that you like. Mind your own business. You're a big girl. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
House, you want him to pay for the changed locks. And on the same date, he was angry and vandalized your car, and you want him to pay for that. Mr. Fabrini does not deny that he was in the house. He said he was supposed to be babysitting for the children that day. And he does, however, deny that he did anything to your car. So I have some questions. How long have you been separated?
Since 2003, Your Honor. I've changed my...
Just a second.
Sorry.
Are you legally separated?
Yes, we are. I have separation papers here.
Okay, so you have a legal writing, but there's never been a judicial determination of separation. Is that right?
Yes.
Is that right, sir?
Yeah.
Okay. How long were you married?
Well, we've been together 16 years.
And how many children do you have, Mr. Fortier?
3.
How old are they?
13, 12, and 7.
Been separated a long time. Is there any reason why you're not divorced?
I don't want a divorce. I mean, we pretty well set our life, and instead of, trying to make it harder, I'm trying to make it, get back together for the sake of the kids, not just for selfish reasons.
Did you stay in the marital home, Miss Fabrini?
No. I signed over the 2 houses we owned at the time of marriage. I let him have them. I never asked him for child support. I'm the one who ended the marriage. I bought my own house in 2003.
Okay, so the house that you say he was trespassing in
was my house.
Was your house,
Yes,
not the
ma'am.
marital home?
No.
And when was this, Miss Fabrini?
On June 1st.
Okay, tell me what happened.
I came home from work, and Mr. Fortier was sitting at my kitchen table, and I asked him how he got in the house. He obviously stole keys from me. I've never given him a set of keys to my house. Of course, he denies it. I don't know if you're still denying it, but...
Well, just a second. So on June 1st, you found him sitting at the... And what did he say to you when you confronted him?
He denied the fact that he had my keys, and I asked him what he was doing in my house, and he was waiting for the children to come home. And I told him, you're not allowed in my house unless I invite you in. So he refused to give. We had an argument. I kicked him out, so he was kind of like angry with me.
And what happened?
He left, and I just forgot about it, did my own thing with the kids. And that night I went to bed, and the kids told me...
Don't tell me what the kids told you, because that's hearsay.
Well, the next morning when I woke up, the windshield in my car was smashed. So I figured he did it.
You have any proof that he did it?
Yes, Your Honor, I do.
I'd like to hear the proof.
I have a witness.
Witness's name?
Sabrina Weeks.
Sabrina Weeks. Raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth in these matters?
Yes.
Can't hear you.
Yes.
Sabrina, how old are you?
12.
And how do you know Miss Fabrini?
Her daughter.
My daughter. She's her best friend.
Okay, is that how you know each other?
Yeah.
She sleeps over at my house all the time.
Okay, were you sleeping at Miss Fabrini's home on June the 1st?
Yes.
Did you witness anything with regard to her car?
Yes.
Tell me what you saw.
Okay, I was sleeping over, and we were sleeping, and me and her heard a loud crash, and we went to look at the window, and we saw Dave with a crowbar over by the car.
And you're sure it was Mr. Fortier?
Yes.
Mr. Fortier, how did you get into the house on June the 1st?
Well, I had keys.
You had keys. Where did you get the keys from, sir?
Well, I had them from, she gave it to me to come and babysit.
Sorry, Your
No,
Honor.
shh, stop. Miss Fabrini, don't say anything. Now, Mr. Fortier, do you pay child support for your children?
Well, no, but...
The answer is no.
No.
Why not?
Well, I still pay for stuff around her house.
What do you pay for regularly?
And the car, her car insurance,
Your Honor,
Do you not pay child support, sir, because your wife never asks you for child support?
No, well, she should have asked. If she wanted so, just ask.
Mr. Fortier, put your hand down, please. Do you have a lawyer in this matrimonial proceeding?
Right now, no.
Mr. Fortier, do you know my background, what kind of work I used to do before I did this work?
No.
I was a judge in the family court, and I was in the family court for 25 years. And you don't have a lawyer, so I feel comfortable about giving you this advice. It's both personal advice and professional advice, sir. And I don't know whether anybody's ever said it to you. You look like a very nice man, but you look like a sad man because you don't have your family with you. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, okay.
My sense from you, sir, is you don't have your family with you. And there is good reason that you and your wife are not together. She wanted out of this marriage so badly that she gave up certain rights that every one of the states of our union mandate, which is that a non-custodial parent pays child support. There isn't a judge in this country that would permit, without serious inspection, an order that said that a non-custodial parent wasn't paying child support. You haven't paid child support for 3 years. So my sense is that your wife wanted out of this marriage that badly that she said, you take the houses, you take the property, you take everything, just give me my freedom.
Yeah, that's her saying. She makes it sound like it's been hell. But
just a second. I understand what you're saying, but what you're saying is that you don't want a divorce because you want your family back together. Mr. Fortier, you're 40 years old. It's young. Believe me, from where I'm sitting, 40 is young. I would take it tomorrow, Mr. Fortier. I'm giving you advice that some people would pay a lot of money for. You've got to put a period and move on. Not with your children. Your children will always be your children, and they will only have one father. There's no question about that. They're old enough to know that you're their father. Nobody's going to substitute for a father. You're their father. But this lady doesn't want to live with you anymore. So you have to put a period and say, this portion of my life, no matter how painful it is for me, is over. I have to move on. And the first thing you have to do is you have to consent to a divorce, Mr. Fortier.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Next time, don't do it. I mean,
listen to me. I know that you're angry.
Just tell him to leave me alone.
Listen to me.
What's he going to break?
Stop it.
And later today.
What kind of concert was it?
It was a reggae festival.
Where do you stay?
I ended up having to sleep on the...
Judge Judy. Mary Fabrini claims her estranged husband, David Fortier, stole the keys to her home and smashed the windshield of her car.
Now, put a period and say, it's over. And the longer you prolong that, the more damage you're going to do to your children. You and your wife brought these children into the world because you wanted to create a loving home for them and want to see them grow up to be wonderful people. You didn't bring them into this world to hurt them. But with the kind of stress you're putting on their mother, that's hurting your children. So you have to stop being selfish, Mr. Fortier, because what you're really doing is being selfish. Not to her. Forget her. But she's the custodial parent for your children. She takes care of them. And what you're doing is creating a stressful environment for them. And you have to stop. Really, you have to stop. Because not only is it bad for them, it's also not right for you. You're 40 years old. You have to give yourself a chance to go out and have another life. You're young. You're young. You're never going to be without your kids. But you want to give them the best possible shot of growing up stress-free. And right now you're creating stress for your children. Because there isn't a question in my mind. I don't have to ask you. Isn't a question in your mind that you damaged her car. This little girl wouldn't come here and lie. No question. You were so angry that your wife said to you, this is my house. I bought this house. You can't be here. That you didn't have control, that you tried to regain control and you damaged her car. You're hurting yourself, but you're also hurting your children because your 12-year-old daughter, Shauna, saw you do that to her mother's car. She saw you be so angry. That's not healthy, Mr. Fortier. You have to stop. And if you need help stopping, spend some of the money that you're not giving to your wife and child support to go get some help. I gave you my best advice. It's advice that has 40 years backing it up. Put a period. Move on. Let it go. Okay. Change the locks were $124. To fix the windshield was $534.
And 3 days off work.
Why did you take 3 days off from work?
I couldn't drive to work, 3 days, because I had to pay for it, repair it, and then get to work. It's my work vehicle.
Do you get paid by the week?
Yes, I do.
So you got paid for the week?
Oh, I didn't get paid that week. I have 3 days that weren't missing.
But did you get paid for the week?
No, I didn't. I'm sorry.
How much do you make a day?
$80 a day. And I have a paycheck stub here, too.
I'd like to see it.
And that's without my bonuses, so I'm letting him off a little easy. Next time, don't do it.
Listen to me, Miss Fabrini. Miss Fabrini.
Yes?
I want you to listen to me. I know that you're angry.
Yes, Your Honor.
I don't know whether whatever I said to him had any impact.
I hope so.
Shh. A little bit, maybe?
I hope not.
Shh. I'm asking him.
Yeah, of course.
A little bit?
Just tell him to leave me alone.
Listen to me.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You gotta stop it.
Okay.
Let it settle in with him.
What's he gonna break next?
Stop it. I get that you're angry. And I get that there was reason why you gave up all those things. I don't want to go into it.
Yes, Your Honor.
You got to move on. Because you're hurting your children and you're hurting yourself. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $898. That's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may.
Steve Ramirez claims former live-in girlfriend Jennifer Flynn refuses to return his belongings. Jennifer is countersuing for money owed and for an assault.
Mr. Ramirez, you and the defendant dated and, I gather, lived together for a brief period of time. You had one child with you at the time?
Yes.
And it is your claim that she, after an argument, threw you out with your child and kept your property. The defendant says that when you left, you owed her some money, and instead of the money, you said to her, just keep my stuff. I don't want it. You know, sell it. She's also counterclaiming because she says you assaulted her. Correct?
Correct.
Okay. When did you move in with Miss Flynn, Mr. Ramirez?
She moved in with me about 4 months after we met to my home that I was renting.
Was that you moved in together?
This year.
2007.
2005.
When was it?
2005.
And when did you move into the apartment that you left?
We moved in at the end of July of 2006.
And you have one child. How
Yes,
old is
ma'am.
that child?
She's 8.
And you have custody of her?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me what happened when you left, sir.
Well, when she kicked me out, me and my daughter, she just kicked me and my daughter out.
Well, tell me about that day.
While we were talking, and I have an invention.
You have an invention?
Yes, ma'am, that me and my brother came up with. And Miss Flynn stated that she wanted 10% of something that doesn't exist. And I said, no, how am I going to give you 10% of something I don't even have? So that's where it started, and that upset her, like, just totally upset her. And she said, what? And I said, how am I going to give you 10% of something I don't even have? I can't.
What do you mean you don't even have? You had an invention, you just told
Well, yes,
me.
ma'am, but it's just in the process now. I haven't.
Well, I assume that what she was saying is that in exchange for whatever financial contribution she was making, were you working at the time?
Yes, ma'am.
You were both working?
Yes.
Well, I assume she was saying that because you lived together as a couple, she wanted 10% if anything happens with this invention. And you said, no, I don't think you're entitled to that. So you're entitled to say that to her, Mr. Ramirez. If she wants 10% or 50%, then you got to get married. Then that's what the state does. The state says, well, then property becomes community property or joint property. But you're not married, she's not entitled to anything. So you're absolutely within your rights to say, I don't want to give you 10%. Is that when she threw you out?
Yes, ma'am.
What did she say?
Get out of my house. You and your daughter can get out of my house.
And is that what you did? You left?
Yes, ma'am.
And you left your things?
Yes, ma'am.
What things did you leave there?
I have a list of things, numerous things.
They better be big items, sir, because I don't get involved with saucepans and dishes.
That's just some of the things. That's not the personal belongings, like
Okay.
pictures and...
I'm going to cross certain things out here, Mr. Ramirez, that I think are ridiculous. Charbroiled barbecue with 2 propane tanks. Prairie dining. Did you purchase all of these things, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you purchase them while you and the defendant were living together?
No, ma'am, prior.
You
I
had these things?
Everything on that list is prior to our relationship.
Let us take a look at this. Are any of those things that you purchased while you were living together?
Probably some DVDs and CDs.
Other than that, those are all his things, correct?
Yeah.
You have to return them to him, all of them. Do you understand?
Oh, there's no neon picture.
Okay, cross it off.
There is a neon picture, Your Honor.
Cross it off. Okay, good. Inconsequential, all of those things within 5 days, sir. You arranged to have the movers there to pick them up. Isn't that nice?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Now, let's get to your counterclaim. You say he owes you money.
Yes.
And he assaulted you. Go.
Actually, the alleged invention that he has is something that my doctor asked him to make, and I actually have a picture of it.
What does that have to do with anything?
That's why I had asked him for 10% of his
You're
alleged
entitled
invention.
to ask.
So
He's entitled to say no.
my counterclaim is what he owes me when he was not working for October, November, and December.
You were not working October, November, December?
October and November, Your Honor.
And December. Well,
just a second. Were you working in December, sir?
No, ma'am.
So you didn't contribute to the household for those 3 months?
No.
So how much money do you owe her?
I don't feel I owe her anything.
Why not?
That's the way relationships work, Your Honor.
Why? Did she work all the time?
No, she doesn't work.
She doesn't work at all?
No.
How do you support yourself?
I received disability and Social Security.
What's the nature of your disability?
I have a blood condition that affects my ankles to where I get a lot of blood clots, and I'm in the hospital a lot. I get a lot of infections.
So you were supporting the household and paying the mortgage on your Social Security? You have children?
I have one child.
How old?
9. Also,
Just a second. Was your arrangement when you moved in that you would pay half the mortgage, sir?
No, ma'am.
What was your arrangement?
Just that we're going to move in together and help each other out as a relationship does.
No. How did you handle the finances, Mr. Ramirez?
Well, I was working prior, and then I just
When you were working prior, how did you handle the finances?
we just share them.
How did it work? You came home and you all both deposited checks into a joint account?
No, ma'am.
Well, how did it work? I want to know.
I would hand her cash and to pay the bills.
How much?
It just depended on how much the bills were at the time.
Mr. Ramirez?
Yes.
How much would you hand her each month?
Maybe $1,200.
Each month?
No, not each month.
Well, that's
When
what
I
I'm
could.
asking you, sir. You don't play with me, Mr. Ramirez.
Yes.
You think you're smarter than I am?
No, ma'am.
What else?
He also owes me for his vehicle insurance from May to January, which I do have invoices for.
Just a second. Why did you pay in May? He was working in May.
Because I had added him to my insurance because he couldn't get it on his own. And with the money that he was giving
my
me-
darling. Listen to me. In May, he was working, so he was giving you money. In May, June, July, August, he was working. He was giving you money.
Not
you
enough.
paid the... Who cares? That's not something I'm getting involved with. So far, he owes you $1,800, period.
Okay.
What's next?
So he owes me then $120 for vehicle insurance for October, November, and December, ma'am, when he was not working.
October, November, and December. You had a car?
Yes, ma'am.
She was paying the insurance?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. And you weren't paying
Helping.
anything?
And
But-
January.
Just, you weren't paying anything?
Not a penny.
Okay. How much a month?
$40 a month.
Okay. So it was 3 months or 4 months?
4.
160. What's next?
The satellite dish was a household bill.
Forget it. You still have the satellite dish, no?
I still have it.
Keep going.
I'm also countersuing for the assault.
Well, let me hear about the assault.
Okay. One night I was just in my house, in my room with my friend.
When?
Approximately the 14th of January.
After he had left?
After he had left. He came back into my house. He still had a key because his stuff was there, so I didn't change the locks. I changed my alarm code. I thought that was good enough. He came in anyhow. I had my room closed. When I opened my bedroom door to see who had come in, he was already right there. And he asked me
What were you doing there?
I went to pack my daughter's things in her room so I can...
Did you call her first?
No.
Why not?
I have a key.
You have no right to do that. You're not a tenant there. You hadn't paid rent. You have no right to go
Yes.
in.
When I received my first check, after I got my job, I handed her my first check.
No.
What date?
You didn't.
What date?
Like January,
No.
first week of February.
You mean after you moved out, you handed her a
Oh,
check?
no, Your Honor.
Baloney, Mr. Ramirez. Baloney. You had no right being there. None. So what happened?
He said, "Who's in there?" And I told him, "None of your business." He pushed the door open like this, and the door hit me in my face because I was on the other side of the door. I proceeded to push the door and tell him that he wasn't going to come in, that it was none of his business. And with his strength, he pushed me into a dresser that I had by the door, which bruised my
Why
arm.
did you do that, sir?
I did
I
not,
have
Your Honor.
pictures of my lip where the door busted my
Can
lip.
I see it, please?
And my witness was in my room. When he saw that it was just my friend Diana, he left. I told him I was calling the police. I had the police on the phone, and
Temper,
I
Mr.
also
Ramirez.
have a statement from
Temper,
my-
Mr. Ramirez. Ever been arrested?
Yes,
Domestic violence?
yes.
What do you have to say for yourself, sir? There's no question in my mind that you entered the house. That was a trespass. And if you assaulted her, that rises to the level of burglary. Do you understand? You should tell me, did you lose your temper?
No, Your Honor.
Well, tell me what you did. There's no question that you hurt her.
I entered the room, the house, and intend to gather my daughter's things from her room and some of my belongings. And then she came out. She said, "What are you doing here?" She said, "Get in my house." I handed her the key, and I left.
No. Didn't push the door open?
No, Your Honor.
Didn't push the door?
No.
Didn't cut her lip?
No.
You have a police report?
No, ma'am, I didn't let the police come. So, but he was not there to get his daughter things. He called me later after he left and said, "Why did you do that? I just wanted to sit down and hang out with you and talk. I thought we could talk." And I said, "Why would you think that?"
He doesn't think that you're allowed to say no.
Well, I am saying no.
Yes.
And,
I think maybe he gets that now. Want to step up? Tell me your last name.
Kalish.
Ms. Kalish, you were there on the evening that Mr. Ramirez came into the house?
Yes.
Tell me what happened.
We were in her room just watching TV, and we heard the front door open. She got up to see who entered the house, and before she got to the door, he was already standing there. She opened the door, and he pushed the door open and pushed her.
Did you say anything about calling the police?
She did call the police. I was there. She
And what
called the
happened?
police, telling them that he had came in the house without permission, but the police didn't show up.
They never showed up?
Well, she didn't want them to come over.
Why?
The calls can take an hour to 2 or 3 hours, and I didn't want to waste their time. He was already gone. I felt safe in the house, and I knew that I could just call back if he came back.
Now, what was the date that this happened?
January 14th, around there.
Why is this picture dated February 9th?
Because that's when I printed the picture, and my digital camera, once I changed the batteries, the date doesn't set. So I have a digital camera. I have the camera with me. I didn't print
Did you
the
seek
photos.
any medical treatment?
No, ma'am.
Okay. You owe her $1,960. Do you understand? And you can go pick up your stuff within 5 days, the stuff that's on this list. Don't go back and bother her anymore. She doesn't want to have anything to do with you anymore. Do you understand?
It's mutual.
It's finished. Over. Got it?
Mutual.
Thank you. That's all.
Rachel Maffitt is suing her ex-boyfriend, Brad Simmons, for unpaid rent and bills while they lived together. Brad claims he owes her nothing.
Ah, Bird, I really am so glad I don't use this internet thing. Miss Maffitt, you met the defendant on something called MySpace.
Yes.
Which is on the internet where people go to meet each other rather than, meeting each other for a cup of coffee or whatever. You exchange information. And you knew him for a brief period of time, and he moved in.
Yes, he asked to move in.
And it is your claim that while he was there, he paid no rent and bills. He owes you $2,000 for the time that he lived with you. Mr. Simmons says that there was never a financial agreement when he moved in. It was only when he left, unceremoniously, according to Miss Maffitt. You left her a note?
No, ma'am.
What did you do?
I packed up all my stuff while she was gone because of the fact that she was a little unstable. I didn't feel comfortable staying there. I packed all my stuff, so I headed out of there, and then I went back to the house and waited for her to come home. And then I told her face to face.
Oh, okay. Well, not as bad as I thought.
Your Honor, I do have a note.
You do have a note?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see the note. When did you get the note?
When I came home and found all of his stuff gone from the house.
The note was only...
Okay. So you write this letter because you believed she was involved with a couple of other people at the same time she was involved with you. It's a very hurt letter, and you say, I can't talk to you right now. You want to communicate with me through MySpace because you're too hurt. You couldn't trust her. Okay, got it. When did you move in, Mr. Simmons?
It was sometime before Christmas. I don't know the exact date.
You remember the date?
I do not. It was probably after 3 or 4 dates, though.
Sometime in mid-December.
Yes, ma'am.
Of 06. And you moved in at her invitation?
Yes, ma'am.
And when did you move out?
I moved out, it was the first week of February.
So let's say
It was before Valentine's Day.
Remember when he moved out?
It was before Valentine's Day, but he was over at my house probably 5 days a week after that. He promised that we would get back together, and
so he lived
still
with you
loved me.
maybe 6 weeks.
Right.
That is untrue. I did not go after.
Did anybody live with you before, Miss Maffitt?
Not in that apartment, no.
Has anybody lived with you since?
No.
So you weren't looking for somebody to share the bills with?
No, I was not.
So what money do you think he owes you? For the 6 weeks that he was there?
He lived there for probably 8 weeks, and
6 weeks. Keep going.
And he did say that he would pay for half of the bills. He actually asked me if he could live with me. He says that he thinks it may be the L word, and so that he wanted to come live with me because his family was unstable, and he said that his father was beating him.
That is untrue, Your Honor.
Listen to me. He left. You have no downside.
Well, I paid for all of the food. He eats probably enough for 3 people a day.
Yeah.
And he did promise me to pay $2,000 from a bonus that he was going to be getting from his new job. And every time I would go to pay bills, he would say, oh, no, it's okay, you're going to get that other money, so we can do this instead and have fun and eat out and things like that. So I did spend money on things that I normally wouldn't have if I were living alone. I work 2 jobs and I am trying to finish school, so I'm just barely eking by.
Mr. Simmons says he was there.
He gave me $300 when he first moved in, which we promptly used on food and going out to eat.
Was it 3 or 5?
It was $500. I gave her $300 when I moved in, like she said, and then at another point, about 2 days before we broke up, we went out to eat with my uncle at Johnny's Pizza, and I gave her another $200.
Do you feel, Mr. Simmons, as if you owe her any money?
No, ma'am.
Was there ever an agreement for you to pay rent there?
No, ma'am. When I moved out, I figured the $500 I gave her, plus I maintained the upkeep of the house, and I cooked. So I feel that's...
You don't get credit for that.
I feel that the money that I gave her at the time that I was there was
You gave her $500?
Yes, ma'am.
What's your rent, by the way?
My rent is $580 a month.
He's paid you enough, Miss Moffitt.
Miss Judge Judy, I actually have an email here stating that he was going to give me the $2,000.
Oh, then I'll see it.
I never sent an email. She did have access to my email password.
No, I did not.
Because it was saved on her computer.
Just a second.
Judge, I also have emails saying that he would lie in court, that he admitted to lying in court. He admitted to cheating on me with men.
That's untrue, Your Honor.
Oh, listen, I'm not
that he wasn't working
I'm
when
not
he was
interested in
working.
that. It has nothing to do with me. Absolutely nothing to do with me. The only thing that has to do with me is whether or not you just refuse to put a period and say, made a mistake, shouldn't have invited this guy in to live with me after knowing him for just 4 dates. You have no downside. He gave you $500. He was there for 6 weeks, and I'm not sure that you wrote this thing yourself. Case is dismissed, Miss Moffitt. Put a period. It's over. Goodbye.
24-year-old Jeffrey Gibbons is suing his former friend, 21-year-old Sierra Delgado, for a loan to put a down payment on a new apartment.
Mr. Gibbons, it is your claim that you made a loan to Miss Delgado in the amount of $700. She was a friend of yours. Miss Delgado says that she accepted the $700 from you because she needed some money and it was a gift. How long do you know her?
Your Honor, I have known Miss Delgado since January. I met her at Bartending Academy, and I think that the gift part of that whole story that you just gave me is an utter fabrication.
You have a copy of your check?
Yes, Your Honor. It's a copy of the check and the date when it cleared.
Check is for $1,000, sir. What was the $1,000 for?
Yes, Your Honor. I wanted to pull out $1,000, and she gave me $300 back. So I am suing for $700.
Tell me how it came about, sir, that you knew that she needed $700.
Your Honor, she asked me for money to help pay for her deposit on her new apartment.
When was this?
This was probably January 28th, and I gave the money to her on February 1st.
So you had known her less than a month?
Correct.
Why did you approach him about needing money?
Well, we had met at the Bartending Academy, and we had a friendship going. One night we hung out, and we had relations. After that, I told him I didn't want anything other than a friendship.
Well, when did the plaintiff become more than just a friendship?
I would say it was just a one-night stand.
When?
This was in January, the end of January.
Give me the date.
I don't remember the date. We were drinking.
Think about it.
Oh, well, the beginning of January. I'm sorry.
You're testing my patience. Other than bartending school, what else do you do?
I work at 2 restaurants.
And you?
I am a student, Your Honor, and
Where?
I just got out of the Navy, University of San Diego.
Are you a full-time student or a part-time student?
Your Honor, I am a full-time student, biology major.
Who supports you?
I support myself, Your Honor. I was in the Navy, and I have money left over. I have loans, and the military is supporting me a little bit with the GI Bill.
Where were you in service?
I served in Japan, and I served in San Diego.
When were you in Japan?
From 2000 to 2004. And I was in San Diego from 2004 to 2006, October 23rd. That's when I got out.
Do you remember the time that you had an intimate relationship with the defendant?
Yes, Your Honor.
When was it?
It was about January 15th, because that was when Bartending Academy was going on.
And was it after that that she said she only wanted to be friends?
Correct. I did want to be in a relationship with her, she didn't want to, so I cut it off. I had a new relationship going when I gave her the money. So I thought, since I was a personal trainer as well, and I thought, since I can't be your significant other or whatever that may be, I would like to be your friend, personal trainer. I tried to help her. When I sat down with her at the Cheesecake Factory, I gave her a goal list. This was my way of a contract. It's not a contract, but I was trying to help her. I bent over backwards for this young lady.
Bizarre.
I would have had the money by the end of February, but the girl I was taking the contract over with said she wanted it at the beginning of the month. So I wasn't prepared for that, and I sent Mr. Gibbons a text message, hey, how do you get $700 in a day? Just, joking. He was a friend, and he's jokingly said, stand on the corner of El Cajon Boulevard.
That's a tease.
Yeah.
Madam, you owe him $700.
I don't owe him any money.
Yes, you do!
He gave it to me as a gift.
No, he gave it to you under false pretenses.
Your Honor, I have an
I'm speaking. If you had already made a decision, Ms. Delgado, that all you wanted was a friendship, if anything, because I assumed that either you were disappointed with January 15th or you found his behavior somewhat bizarre. Either way, I don't care if you go into a homeless shelter. You don't take money from him under false pretenses, and you don't coyly send him a text message, hey, when you know that he wants more from you than you were willing to give him. How do you get $700 in a day? That you may say to your mother or your father. That you may say to your brother or your sister. That you don't say to a guy who is clearly wearing his heart on his sleeve, because that is unkind and cruel and fraudulent. You owe him $700. Judgment for the plaintiff. That's all. Step out.
Parties are excused. You may step out. All parties in the matter of Mimsgrave versus Gilmore. Step forward.
19-year-old Brittany Mimsgrave is suing her former friend, Samantha Gilmore, for the return of money she paid to go on a cruise. Samantha says Brittany backed out at the last minute.
Miss Mimsgrave.
Yes.
Miss Gilmore was a friend of yours. You had been friends for a long time, according to what I read in your complaint. A group of girls decided to go on a trip. Where were you going?
We were going on a Mexican cruise.
For how many days?
A week.
And what was the cost to each girl?
It was $325 each.
Very reasonable for a whole week.
Yes.
Do they feed you on this trip for $325 for a week?
I actually don't know. I didn't go.
Do they feed you?
Yes, they do.
In any event, you paid Miss Gilmore your $325.
Yes.
She was making the arrangements. How old are you?
I'm 19.
And you?
19.
Am I correct that someone in the party had to be 21 in order for the girls to go?
Yes.
What you tell me in your complaint is that one of the girls, I believe her name was Ashley, was the 21-year-old, she backed out.
Yes.
So now you have a predicament. You've paid your $325, as have other girls, and unless you found someone else who was 21 years old, you couldn't go.
Yes.
So according to you, you waited for a while to see if somebody else was going to go and somebody else was going to go, and nothing happened, so you made other plans for that period of time. That's what you say. And according to you, Miss Gilmore decided to take her brother.
Yes, well, actually...
Decided to take her brother. He was going to pay for himself. And his brother had a friend whose name was?
Gaius.
Gaius?
Gaius Mike. He goes by Mike.
Good. His name was Mike. Mike went on your ticket.
Yes.
And you want the money?
Yes.
Didn't Mike pay?
No.
Why not?
Because we had made oral agreement that Mike was going to pay after the cruise, but Brittany showed up at my house the day before. We left saying that she wanted it then.
Just a minute. Who did Mike make the arrangement with? With you?
With me. He made with me and she made with me.
Just a second. So Mike made the arrangement with you that he was going to pay for the trip.
Yes.
And you told her that Mike was paying for the trip. That was your agreement with him.
Yes.
Now she's suing you because you told her you're going to get your money for this ticket. That's what you told her.
Yes.
Go get the money from Mike. She has no way of suing him because they did not have an agreement. The agreement was you have a cause of action against him if he breached that agreement and didn't give you the money.
Yes, but since she had come to my house saying that she wanted the money earlier than she had expected, I figured if she felt that she needed the money before, even though he wasn't able to provide it for her, she should have called the travel agent herself and said that, because what she said was she wanted her ticket or the money.
Madam.
Ma'am.
She could have done this and she would have done that, and if she did this, she wouldn't have been in that chair. She had an agreement with you. And the agreement was you were going to give her back her money because your brother and his friend were going on this trip with you. And if the friend stiffed you, sue him. He went, he had a good time. I assume he ate, right? Well, I'm sure his company wasn't that terrific that entitled him to a free ride, right? Right, Mr. Gilmore? You wouldn't give him a free ride.
Ma'am, she canceled out at the very last minute.
Are you following me? Your daughter made an agreement with her that she would get her money back. She has to do that. Now, since she did not gain anything herself, perhaps, unless she likes Mike, she has an absolute right to turn around and sue Mike for the cost of the ticket because he promised to pay her, and he didn't. She may have had a lot of other options. She doesn't have to exercise all those other options. She had an agreement with your daughter. Do you get it?
Yes.
Good. Now, you have a counterclaim for harassment and the expenses surrounding harassment. Ms. Gilmore, you want to tell me about that?
Yes, when she had decided 4 days we had agreed that Mike was going to take her place. We had made the agreement that he was going to pay after, and she kept constantly calling saying that she wanted the money earlier, and I told her that I didn't have it and that Mike hadn't given it to me, and she kept calling me, harassing me, and showing up. She showed up at my house the day before saying she wanted the money or the ticket, and the option was that she could call the travel agent and say that she wanted her place back because I didn't have the money. So she was constantly calling me, and then after she had left our house, she had called our mutual friend who also went, inquiring about my car, wondering where my car was going to be where we were on the cruise, and I just bought a brand new car, so I was wondering why she wanted to know where my car was.
Just a second, how do you know Brittany called your friend?
My friend, the one who went on the cruise, told me.
Well, you can't tell me that, madam, that's hearsay.
Okay.
What else?
So, but basically she had called me constantly, leaving me messages, called me when I was at work.
That's what happens when she feels as if you were stiffing her money. That's not a cause of action for harassment. You have to give her the $325, and I suggest that you and your father, when you leave here, you go to small claims court and you sue Mike for the trip that he took, that he enjoyed, that so far he didn't pay for. Right?
Right.
As between the two of you, you owe her $325. Do you understand?
Yes.
Good. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She is getting the money, but hopefully she'll understand that it's from Mike.
I think it's very unfortunate that it had to end like this.
And not me, and that it wasn't worth the friendship, and it wasn't worth going to court over.
I mean, if someone's going to try and ruin a friendship over...
You were driving? Mm-hmm. Who was in the car with you?
I was alone.
You were driving?
And I was alone, too.
Where were you going?
I was going to the last day at my job, and I'm a chef and caterer, and I was coming to pick up the pots and pans I had in my kitchen.
And where is the kitchen?
There's a door to the kitchen that is right along the street that I was trying to find a parking place right in front of the door.
Okay. And what about you, Mr. Sorensen? Where were you going?
I was going into a paint shop that was right in front of where I parked.
Now, what I gather and what I've been able to put together and what I know from common sense and from driving a car for a long time is that a parking space became available. The car pulled out of the spot, and you followed that car into the spot with the nose of your car. Is that what happened, Mr. Sorensen?
Not totally, Your
That's totally what happened, Mr. Sorensen. You did not parallel park. Car pulled, and you pulled in.
There was a car parked in front of the spot, if you look at the map. I could not fit
Listen,
into it by nosing in totally.
That's the way you started into the spot.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Now, Miss Nunez says she was waiting for a spot on the same street. She saw this car getting out, but in order to accommodate the car so the car didn't have to struggle, she pulled up a couple of car lengths to wait for the car to pull out so that she could parallel park by pulling back, which is the way one parallel parks. The car pulled out, and according to Miss Nunez, you pulled into the spot, and the fight was on. So far, is that pretty accurate, Ms. Nunez?
Yes.
And there's no question in my mind, Mr. Sorensen, that is precisely what happened. You want to know why I know it's precisely what happened, Mr. Sorensen?
Yes, Your Honor.
Because you say in your answer that you noticed a red BMW. Is that what you drive? Mm-hmm. Double parked a couple of car lengths away. Well, there would be no reason for Ms. Nunez to double park because she had business there. She wasn't waiting for somebody to come out of the store. She hadn't dropped somebody off and was waiting for them to give her something. She had to park her car in order to go into a place to retrieve items. So I know that she was waiting for a spot. And we know that people parallel park, which is she couldn't have pulled back behind this spot. She let the person who was pulling out, spot that she saw first, get out of the spot. You, Mr. Sorensen, were being a wise guy. And if you weren't being a wise guy, then when she came back and she said, you know, that's my spot, you should have said, oh, well, I'm sorry. I thought you were double parked. I'll get out. Which is not what you did. Smart Alec, that is not what you did.
There were several double parked cars on that block.
Her car was not double parked, sir. She was waiting for the spot. And you acknowledge that in your answer that she was double parked 2 car lengths ahead. So when she pulled back and she said to you, that's my spot, I've been waiting for it, what did you say to her?
Well, that's not how it happened, Your Honor. I was fully parked and my motor was off. While getting out of my car, she backed into me. There were several double parked cars on that block because there was a mosque on the opposite side of the street that was coming out.
Sir, you told me that you saw her car double parked in front. That's what you told me in your answer.
Yes, I
Now,
did.
you're not lying there, are you?
No, I'm not
You didn't say
lying.
there were a lot of other cars double parked. I'm telling you her car was not double parked. Her car was waiting for the spot because she had seen the spot, and you could have, Mr. Sorensen, waited for the spot to become vacant, pull up, and then properly parallel park.
Well,
You chose not to do that, sir. I read your answer. You chose to spray your turf first, which was put your nose in the
That's
spot,
not true, Your Honor.
and then later you deal with it.
That's not true, Your Honor.
No. You know, common sense goes a long way, Mr. Sorensen. So then a road rage incident transpired. Now, Ms. Nunez, now that I got the lay of the land, I would like you to tell me what happened.
Like I said, I was parked next to his truck. He was right here, and I rolled down the windows on my car, and I told him, you just stole the
No,
parking.
tell me. Not
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay.
I want you to tell me exactly what you said to him.
I said, you just stole a parking space I really need.
And what did he say to you?
What are you going to do about it? And I did call him and he
After
looked at
that?
me. Yes, and then he looked at me, paused, took the door of his truck, and with all his body weight and all his might, slammed it as hard as he could against my car. I got out of my car to see that if he had damaged it and also to get his license plate number. When I did that, he bound out his passenger door, came around his truck, and pinned me against the back of my car.
Not true, Your Honor.
It is very true.
Not true.
To the point where my elbows were on my trunk as he was screaming at me, what are you going to do about it?
Because at this point, you were blocking his car.
Well, yes.
Go.
So he's pinning me against the car. I told him there's like witnesses everywhere. He said, watch, nobody's going to help you. I can do whatever I want to you, and nothing's going to happen
Don't make things up as you're going
No,
along.
I'm
Ms.
not.
Nunez.
That's exactly what he said to me.
You have pictures of the car?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see it, please. Who are these people? Were either of them here?
My sister is here for moral support, but I also have Officer Chan that responded to, I waved him down to respond to the scene.
Officer Chan, would you step forward, please? You're a police officer in San Francisco?
Yes, working in the San Francisco Patrol Special Police Division.
What do you know about this incident on the 30th of June?
I found 2 people, this female driving a red BMW and this gentleman driving a black Ford pickup.
Did Mr. Sorensen at any time disclaim responsibility for the damage to her car?
Yes, he did.
What did he say, if you remember?
He said, well, I didn't do it. And he said, check the paint.
And did you?
Yes, I did. I saw a white paint that is in his door.
In his door?
Correct.
And on her door?
Scratches, yeah.
Thank you, sir. All right, Mr. Sorensen, now I'm going to hear you, sir. Go.
I have an estimate for her car that shows damage from the rear bumper all the way up to the rear mirror, which would go and coincide of what happened, that the impact happened while she was backing out.
Sure. I'd like to see it, please.
I marked it on the tab. The whole side, which explains my statement on how I had to scramble back into my car while she was backing out.
Your Honor, I have an estimate that says that there's only one single dent in my car.
Oh, may I see it, please?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
There's no question in my mind, Mr. Sorensen, that you pulled your nose into that space as so many other piggish people have done.
And later today,
Do you really think that they keep me here because I'm young and gorgeous?
Tanya knew fellow motorist Jeff Sorensen owes for intentionally damaging her car during an incident of road rage.
Now, most people who behave civilly, Mr. Sorensen, will wait their turn for things, wait their turn to get a parking space, understand exactly the frustration that somebody feels when they've been sitting and waiting for a parking space for a long time, and somebody who has very poor manners comes up and says, here I see an opportunity, and I'm going to take it, and there's nothing you can do about it.
It's not the way it was, Your Honor.
That's exactly the way it was, Mr. Sorensen. There is no question in my mind that this lady did not pick a fight with you. There's no question in my mind that she did not start up with you. There is no question in my mind that she had given the car an opportunity to exit that parking space civilly and parallel park as she was taught to do.
Wait for
And
a parallel spot like
there's
that.
no question in my mind, Mr. Sorensen, that you pulled your nose into that space, as so many other piggish people have done, and said, it's my spot now. You have a problem, Mr. Sorensen. Your problem is you behaved badly that day, and you're not willing to accept responsibility for it. And I have a feeling it's not the first time that you behaved badly. And I think she said to you exactly what she said to you, which was, you took my parking space that I really need, and the response that you gave her was
Not true, Your
exactly the response that she testified to.
Not true, Your
You're
Honor.
out of order, sir. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,500. That's it.
Thank you very much, Your Honor.
All these guards, you may step out.
She got fired that day, and she was collecting her stuff at the end of work, and I think she was frustrated.
Actually, I quit my job, so it has absolutely no validity in this case.
I went off on her. There was road rage, and I apologized to her for that.
I feel very sorry for the defendant, and I think he'd be a lot happier if he...
Marcia Lambert claims her mother's neighbor, Tammy Kedward, owes for spray painting vulgarities onto her car and punching her in the face. Tammy claims Marcia was sleeping with her husband. She is countersuing for emotional distress.
Miss Lambert, you were having a romantic relationship with the defendant's husband.
Yes, Your Honor.
I assume this was the husband.
Yes, Your Honor.
This was about a year ago?
A little over a year, yes, ma'am.
Miss Kedward lost it with you one day, came to where you were staying, and assaulted you.
Yes, Your Honor.
She admits that she assaulted you. She also admits that she pled guilty to a simple assault, and she received a fine. Her defense to your action for damages for both your medical bills and your pain and suffering is that you weren't injured. She is counterclaiming for her medical bills, she says, because you've caused her a lot of stress. When did you meet Miss Kedward's husband?
About July 9th of 2005.
Where?
At my mother's house.
What relationship does he have with your mother?
They're the next-door neighbors to my mom.
Were they both living together at the time?
Yes, they were.
Well, when did you start a relationship with Mr. Kedward?
After he told me that he had asked Tammy for a divorce.
But they were still together?
Sort of, kind of.
They were still living under the same roof?
They were living, yes.
Big mistake on your part. Big. When did you start the relationship?
What exact date?
Yeah.
That it turned romantic?
Yes.
Was August 28th of 2005.
So it didn't take long. Now, when did Miss Kedward assault you?
On August 31st.
Tell me about it.
I was over visiting my mother. My car was parked in the back driveway. She came over and spray painted my car with some obscenities and bright orange paint. I saw her do it. We went back inside to call the police. She knocked on the front door, asked me to come outside. My mother came outside with me. She was yelling all kinds of profanities. And
That's not true.
And I was standing between her and my mother tried to explain some stuff to her, and I was looking at my mother. She reached over, grabbed the back of my hair, yanked, jumped on top of me, punched me. Blood went everywhere. Meanwhile,
punched you where?
In the nose, and then punched me again in the cheek. Meanwhile, my mother managed to pull her off of me, and my 82-year-old grandmother was standing on the porch calling the police.
And you were arrested?
No.
Taken into custody?
No.
Did you press charges?
Yes, I did.
Okay, Miss Kedward. Why don't you tell me what happened on the 31st of August?
I drove up from work. I got out of the car, and she came out of her mother's house and said,
"That is a lie, Your Honor."
Listen to me. I cut her off when she interrupted you. Don't speak until she's finished. Go ahead.
I got out of the car, and she came out of the front door and said something that I didn't understand what it was that she said. Nevertheless, she said something. And I just went inside, and I called my husband, told my husband that she was saying something to me.
But you didn't know what?
I didn't know what. It was
well,
something.
Why would you, just a second, Ms. Kedward, why would you call your husband if she said something that you didn't understand?
Because I had found out 3 days prior that there was something going on between them.
Okay, did you confront your husband with it?
Yes.
And what did he tell you?
He told me the truth. He told me that they were having a relationship, but that it was more as a friend relationship. That he didn't say that it was not intimate. He just told me that basically they had been doing a lot of talking on the phone.
So when you came home on the 31st and you claimed Miss Lampert said something to you, called your husband, and your husband said what?
He said, look, I don't know what's going on. Why don't you just go over there and talk to her about it, and y'all figure it out, and then you call me.
Is that what you said to her? Why don't you just go over there and ask her? Just that's either a yes or no.
Yes.
That was the first time that I ever thought of going over there.
So your cheating husband tells you to go over to the woman's house and to talk it out with her.
Yes.
And you'd listen to him.
Well, it's not that I listened to him. It's more that I thought, go over there. Sounds like a great idea. Why don't I just go over there and find out exactly what she said? And it was probably not the greatest decision in the world, but
well, first thing that you did, you went over and you sprayed her car, because that you paid for, right?
Yes.
Okay, so you painted her car before you went to ask her.
Correct.
What she had said that you didn't hear.
Right.
And then what happened?
I went over and
You sprayed her car.
I sprayed her car, went back inside and...
Back inside where?
My house.
What happened to speaking to her and about finding out what happened?
That was after.
So then you came out again, worked up a really good mad.
I was infuriated, to say the least.
Fine. So you came out.
I had asked her numerous times, very nicely, please leave my husband alone.
Why didn't you ask him?
I asked him.
So, and what did he say?
She was the instigator.
Stand up. How tall are you?
6'3",
How much do you weigh?
260,
What do you do for a living?
mechanic.
Strong?
I guess so.
Can you walk around?
Yes.
You can walk away from her, can't you?
Yes, ma'am.
Sit down. Get what I mean? Shh. Get what I mean?
Yes, ma'am, I do. And
yeah, listen, there's only one person that owes you the responsibility and the respect and has taken a vow.
You're exactly right.
That's him.
You're right.
Not her.
I felt like if she had any compassion or any feeling that she would have backed off and she would have had respect, at least for my child.
He's supposed to have respect for your child.
I understand that. I truly believe that he did make a bad decision.
Right. But so why did you go over? So you went over there, you assaulted her, and you lost it.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Well, then you have to suffer for that. Okay, Ms. Kedward, what kind of consequence did the criminal justice system impose when you pled guilty to assault?
I had a fine of $341 and a Class C misdemeanor.
Tell me about the surgery that you had 3 months later.
I had actually 2 surgeries to try to correct. I was having trouble breathing through the right side of my nose.
Can I see the medical report?
Yes,
Your
ma'am.
Honor?
Yeah.
She told my husband, he asked her the next day after the assault, are you okay? And she told him, it's no big deal. The same thing happened to me about a year ago when a girl hit me in a bar.
Okay.
That's a lie, Your Honor.
Just a second. Let's say that's true. What difference does it make?
So what's to say if she had any surgeries that it wasn't to correct what had happened then?
It's possible it was. That doesn't leave you. That doesn't. Shh, quiet. That doesn't let you off the hook.
I understand.
She doesn't have to sue for any medical expenses. She can just sue for pain and suffering.
I understand.
Good. Okay, so the first study date in the emergency room was September 1st, and it did say previous surgical changes are noted. Okay, so you had previous surgeries in your nose. Is that right?
From 92.
Okay, good. Now, after this happened on August 31st, did you continue a relationship with Mr. Kedward?
Yes, I did.
For how long?
It actually ended August 1st of 2006.
I don't think that's true, Your
Yeah,
Honor.
that's a bunch of bull.
No, you were at my mother's house.
Shh, listen to me. Whether it lasted 9 months or 10 months or 12 months, it doesn't make any difference. It lasted beyond that. Was Mr. Kedward living with his wife during that time?
He went back to her the end of November of 2005.
Okay, but you continued the relationship with him months after that.
Right.
Not smart. What was he telling you all this time?
Just that he wasn't sure what he wanted, and that they had a lot to work out if it was going to work, and that he still loved me and he always would.
Well, Miss Lambert, why did you continue the relationship with him?
It's not the first time she's done this. I'm sorry.
Takes two to tango.
Yes, ma'am.
His feet work in both directions. If he's back with you and sweet-talking her, that's not a good thing.
The thing about it is, Your Honor, you say I'm strong physically. I'm assuming that's what you're asking. You know, what about mentally when you have a woman like this calling you all the time and not leaving you alone? Yay. Hey.
You don't really want an answer to that question, sir.
Well.
You don't want an answer to that question, Mr. Kedward.
When I asked Miss Lambert to leave my husband alone, my words to her were, for God's sakes, Marcia, I live next door to your mother. Please just stop.
She used very bad judgment.
She told me that she would be living next door to her mother.
Miss Kedward.
That's a lie.
She used very bad judgment, especially after he came home in November.
He never really left home.
Don't tell me he never really left home. Stop me seasick. Still.
Yes, ma'am.
He exercised very bad judgment. What he's trying to tell me is he may be strong physically, but mentally he's mush. That's just an excuse. What he's trying to say is, how can I withstand the wiles of Jezebel? That's ridiculous. If
That
you
was
bought it,
not what I
quiet.
was saying.
Quiet. There are all kinds of temptations in this world, madam. And you hope that when you marry somebody, that they're going to be able to withstand the temptations. And if they can't, it's their fault. It's not somebody else's fault. In any event, she's suing you for $4,000.
Yes, ma'am.
That, she said, represents her medical bills. You are clearly responsible for that. I want to hear about your counterclaim. You have 1 minute.
I went to the hospital that night and was in the hospital for 2 days following. I was extremely stressed out over the whole situation. I asked her repeatedly to leave my husband alone. She told me she would do what she wanted to do, when she wanted to do it. And I lost it. And I have to admit that
I'm talking about your
I
counterclaim.
went to the hospital and I was there for 2 days because of the immense stress that this, I don't even want to call her a woman, has put me through, that she continues to put me through to
What
this
about
day.
him? Why don't you sue him?
I married him for better, for worse, for richer, for poorer, in front of God, in front of all of our friends. And it's my choice to forgive him, and we have been through counseling.
Perfect. Listen to me. He's the one that owes you the responsibility of doing the right
paid
thing.
Me.
Doesn't she owe us to leave us alone?
I have. Excuse me?
Excuse me? Outside. Put him out.
Come on.
Can I add
I'm
one
gonna-
thing?
Yeah, sure.
I was under so much stress from the immoral actions of this person that I suffered a miscarriage. My child has had to be in counseling. I have had a lot of issues because of her, and to this day.
Because of them.
Yes, ma'am.
Because of them.
She instigated it.
Because you don't get it. You have to put it in your head. He owes you the responsibility of doing the right thing. She doesn't. He has a contract with you, moral contract and a legal contract. He violated the contract. And I would have very little sense of an obligation to mitigate your damages if Miss Lambert did not continue the relationship after November, when she knew that the two of you were trying to work things out. Miss Lambert fully understood that. From November until, she says, August of 2006, she continued a relationship with him. That's going to hurt you, Miss Lambert, because then you knew that what you were doing was interfering with a relationship, and there is a cause of action. It's a cause of action in common law called alienation of affection. That means you are contributing to alienating the affection of her husband, and you know what that's going to cost you? $4,000. So I rule in your favor on your lawsuit in the amount of $4,000. And I rule in your favor on the counterclaim in the amount of $4,000. Neither one of you are getting anything. That's it. Goodbye. What I read in your complaint.
Yes, Your Honor.
You plan different kinds of trips.
I'm actually a club promoter, not an event coordinator.
Well, but you were planning trips.
Yes.
This particular event was a trip.
Yes.
Mrs. Morante wanted to plan a weekend with some friends, and she answered your ad. Your ad was for what kind of a weekend, Miss Morante?
Freestyle ski trip.
What does that mean?
Freestyle is a type of music. like classical or disco. It's a certain type of music.
Would somebody my age like that kind of music?
Not at all.
You answered that very fast, Mr. Do you know what freestyle music is?
I have no idea.
Can you hum something in freestyle?
No, I don't really want to.
Okay. Anyway, and that was the ad that you placed, is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you signed up, you gave them a deposit?
Correct.
And how much was the deposit?
$250. $50 per girl. There were 5 girls.
2 days? Saturday,
yes, from
Sunday?
Friday night arrival, Sunday morning departure.
So 2 nights?
Correct.
Okay. And she paid you?
Yes, she did.
She went on the weekend eventually, even though the date was changed.
The ski trip that I had promoted for was canceled. The date wasn't changed. It was the freestyle event was canceled for that weekend.
That I never knew about until now, today.
That was canceled.
Yes, Your Honor.
And you planned something else. Why was that canceled?
Okay, it was canceled due to the lack of people. We couldn't get people to go on the ski trip weekend.
Because nobody knows what it is. So then you planned something else.
No. What I did, I put them on a different ski trip for the following weekend.
Without our knowledge.
Well, just a second. You planned something else for them.
I gave them an alternative. I gave them 2 alternatives. I gave them alternative number 1 was give them their deposit of $250 back.
That's a lie.
Shh.
Or I could put them on the second week.
Just a second. Shh, listen to me. She gave you the $250.
She mailed it to me, the deposit of $250.
Okay. So you had her address.
Yes, I did.
Can I see the letter that you sent her indicating that you were canceling the freestyle weekend, but you were giving her 2 options? Can I see that letter?
There was no letter.
That's all I wanted.
Thank you.
There was no letter. But one way or another, you got on this second weekend that they had planned, you and 4 friends.
Me and 3 other girls.
You and 3 other girls.
One was soon to be my sister-in-law.
Please, I don't need that information.
Okay.
I have a very, very busy day today. And you say it was a trip from hell.
It was a disaster.
Can I see the ad for the weekend?
The original that I picked up?
The original.
This is the original.
The original? That's the only one that he's got? Because...
No, I received the second one.
Oh, you did receive it?
At the hotel.
Oh, okay. Not before you went?
Not before I went.
Okay. So tell me, now this looks like a very nice promotion.
Yes.
This is what you've sent out, right?
Yes, I was still promoting for that, yes.
Good. And what you're suing for, sir, is she stopped payment on the $940.
Yes, she did, and I have the check right here.
I believe you. She doesn't deny it. She says that it was a disaster. So I'm going to hear her. Okay. Tell me why it was a disaster.
Okay. Prior to leaving for the trip, Brian changed the dates on us 1 week in advance.
You went. You didn't have to go.
Okay.
You went.
We went to the bus location with him saying that he was going to meet us there Friday evening at about 6 p.m. with about 4 or 5 buses waiting to hurl 500 people up to this freestyle music weekend. There's no Brian. There's only 2 buses. We were not on any kind of list, my name or any of the girls that were with me, to get on the bus. We had to sit there and talk to people that did not know who we were.
So
what we
you first had a problem with the organization.
Right.
You finally got on a bus.
We finally got on a bus. The minute we sat down, we smelled marijuana. We refused to sit on a bus with marijuana for our health reasons, and we weren't planning this kind of ghetto weekend. We were trying to go away to have a nice weekend trip. And this was not something that I would ever be interested in.
Okay.
So we complained. They opened up the vent on the bus and sprayed air freshener. I walked right off the bus with the 3 girls.
Okay.
Called my husband, called Brian. He did not pick up his cell phone. He didn't show up.
What did you do next?
I complained to the bus drivers. I complained to the other promoters who never heard of me, who didn't even know who Brian was. And they told us
to get on another bus.
They made us get on another bus. Correct.
Was that bus okay?
That bus had a lot of drinking and cursing. It was better than the marijuana, but it was not acceptable once we were en route.
Did you get to where you were going?
We did, without being able to use the bathroom, all 3 girls.
When you got to where you were going, tell me about the accommodations that you had.
We walked in. People from the first bus were mimicking, saying things to us because we complained about the pot smoking. They were saying we were troublemakers.
I'm not interested in what they were saying about you. I'm interested in the accommodations.
Okay, well, the accommodations was a room that, had 2 double beds. We were, all 4 girls staying in the same room together.
Did you stay?
We stayed in the hotel room with the doors locked, towels under the door because of the marijuana.
You stayed in the hotel?
Correct, we did.
Why didn't you go home?
I had no way of getting home. He came and picked me up, and he cut his bachelor party short because he was in Atlantic City with my brother and the rest of the guys. And he had to drive over 3 hours to come pick me up, and we had to go home with him squished like sardines in a truck, 4 girls and suitcases and everything, because we refused to get back on the bus with the people that was ghetto that we would not want to be around. Going home another 3 hours. We were not allowed to use the bathroom in the bus unless we took alcohol shots from strangers. It's ridiculous.
Listen to me. I don't understand.
You find it funny. I don't think it's funny.
Miss Moranti, listen to me.
You weren't there.
Miss Moranti, listen to me. I don't understand why you would stay in the hotel.
Well, there was.
She's lying, Your Honor.
I'm lying? You weren't even there.
No.
Okay?
Mr. Mann, listen, if you can't behave yourself, that's not going to bode well for your success in this case. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you supposed to be on this trip, Mr. Mann?
I was going. Originally, I was going to go, but I'm in the National Guard, and I had drill that weekend.
Show me. I believe you're in the National Guard. Show me that you were on a drill that weekend.
My drill assembly schedule was at home, but I let Joanne know and I let Liz know.
No, you did not.
Just a second. Did you tell them before you took their money that you weren't going to be there?
I told them when they came to make the final payment that I wasn't going to be there.
That's a lie. I never made final
Just a
payment.
second.
She never made final payment with me. Liz came to my place of business and was going to make final payment, and that's when I let them know that the ski trip was canceled, and I would give them 2 options. Option number 1, I'll give them back the deposit.
How much profit did you make on this, sir?
I made $50 off each girl, so I made $200.
And you were the subcontractor?
I was the sub-promoter, yes.
Because you said, I'll get a certain number of bodies for you to go.
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
That's how it works, yes.
Did you explain that to Miss Moranti, that you were not promoting this, that you were
I told her I was a sub-promoter. The main promoter is on top of the flyer.
And he wasn't there. He was a different company.
Just a second. All I want to know is, did you tell Miss Moranti that this was not something that you were organizing and promoting?
Yes.
You were merely saying that. Is that right?
Yes.
No, he told me he was a promoter, and his phone number's on that card.
If you're going to be fixed with what's in your head and not listen to my question, you're not helping yourself.
Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't hear it. Or understand.
Because you're not listening, you have to put on your listening ears.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You have a counterclaim for your pain and suffering. And right now, what you're being to me is a pain. And I'm suffering.
And later today.
What a con artist. I mean, does she think that we're stupid, that she's going to be able to resolve this issue with those kind of answers?
Hope springs eternal.
Sit down, April.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Promoter Brian Manthorn says former client Joanne Moranti owes for the balance on a weekend ski trip. Joanne says the trip was unsafe.
Did the plaintiff ever tell you that he was not in charge of promoting this event?
No, he didn't.
That, listening ears, that somebody else was in charge of promoting this event, and all he was doing was providing bodies at $50 a person.
No, he didn't.
Of course not. Don't fib to me, sir.
Your Honor.
Now, listen to me. Did you tell her that this was not your gig, that you didn't know anything about it, but that you were getting $50 a head for every person that you brought in?
I didn't tell her what I was getting. I told her that I was sub-promoting. Yes, I did. I didn't tell her that I was.
You're
I
a
didn't tell her what I was
Swiftie.
making.
I don't believe you. Did he tell you that?
No.
Of course not. I don't believe you. That's a fib.
Thank you.
Well, Your Honor, I also have a tape. She's claiming something about the bus ride. I also have a tape that Liz left on my voicemail message about the bus ride. Can I play it?
Absolutely.
Save voice message.
Hey, what's up? Just wanted to call you that,
Is that
now
Liz?
we've been happy they changed us bus, which is
Yeah.
much better than what we were before. And what I was trying to tell you before was, like, it was really ghetto, and,
See?
like, I don't know, it just felt like weed and stuff, which was like, I don't know. But now they changed us to another bus, so much better, so we're, like, more happier. So if anything, I'll talk to you. All right, bye.
That's exactly what she said.
Yes, and that was
She
before.
said that the second bus. She said the second bus. She had to drink and everything like that.
That's correct. She used a bathroom.
She
How
said
ghetto.
the second bus was better. Why should she have to tolerate the first bus?
Absolutely, I agree with her 100%.
Good. Then you get nothing. Stick with what you know, sir. It sounds to me like she had a horror show of a weekend. It was so bad that she wouldn't return on the bus back home, and she asked her husband, who will vouch for that, I assume, to cut his weekend short, to come and pick up the 4 girls because they were so put off by what was going on with the bus that they didn't want to take the bus home. Why do you think she would do that if it wasn't miserable?
Because she calls me a con artist.
You are.
Okay, if I'm such a con
You
artist,
are.
if I'm such a,
You are.
Your Honor, if I'm such a con
You
artist,
are.
if I'm such a con artist, then when she wrote me these checks, I would have cashed them the day of.
That's your problem.
I never
tell
did
him when
that.
to cash the checks.
Absolutely, she
Your
did.
counterclaim's dismissed.
She absolutely did. She said.
Do you understand?
I guess.
You guess. You know why?
No.
Very easy. Because you have a counterclaim for your pain and suffering. And
And
right
false
now, what you're being to me is a pain. And I'm suffering. Because I already told you that this is a court. And in a court, when I look at you, you testified he was quiet. So your counterclaim is dismissed. That's your punishment.
It's a big punishment.
It is. It absolutely is. So you got $250 deposit. That check went through.
That
is
check
that
went
right?
through, yes, it went through
You got
because
$50 a person for how many people?
For 4 people.
That's $200. That's $450. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
How much money are you out?
I'm out $940 minus $200.
That's right.
That'd be $7.
That's what you're out. Don't do it again. Stick with what you know. If you con somebody into thinking that they're going to have a great weekend and they have a miserable weekend, there has to be consequences. That's your consequence, $750. Your counterclaim's dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Brian's a con artist. He got what he deserves.
Outrage that somebody can pay for something, spend the whole entire weekend, and still get away with not paying for it.
It was just horrible. It was terrible. There was marijuana going on.
Marijuana use is illegal. She had the choice to get off that bus.
It was out of control, ghetto, something that I would never take part of.
When she seen that it was so ghetto, quote unquote, she could have left. She chose to keep going.
He deceived me from the beginning.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Ottoman versus Richardson, step forward.
21-year-old student Joseph Ottoman is suing fellow student Timothy Richardson for assaulting him outside a bar. Timothy says a drunken Joseph and his female friends started the fight.
Mr. Ottoman, it is your claim that the defendant assaulted you outside of a bar.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Richardson says that there was an altercation outside the bar, but that altercation was started by you and finished by him, right?
Correct.
When was it?
It was August 28th.
And what's the name of the bar you were in?
The bar I saw these guys in earlier was called the Mystique.
That's where you had been for the evening?
Well, it was one of the places.
Is that the last place that you were in?
No, ma'am.
Well, what's the last place?
A bar called Zydeco's.
How many bars had you been to in total that evening?
Those two.
What time had you arrived at Mystique?
Probably around 10.
Who were you with?
I arrived by myself. I was meeting 2 girls down there.
What time did you leave Mystique?
Oh, must have been around midnight.
And that's when you went to this Zydeco's. And how long did you stay there?
Till it closed.
What time?
2.
Who drove?
We walked. One of the girls I was with lives about 2 blocks away from downtown, and we were walking to her house from there.
What happened when you left Zydeco's and you were walking home at 2 o'clock in the
We
morning?
were walking home to this girl's house. She points them out. They were across the street from us. She's all, there's those guys that were talking to me earlier. They start saying some things. I'm on my phone. I'm not paying attention. All of a sudden, I hear, F you, slut, blah, blah, blah. I say, what's going on here? I go run up to them. And, I mean, it was a very awkward situation. I mean, 2 in the morning, all of us, 21, 22, nobody there was sober. It was a very drunken situation.
Well, that's good.
It could have very easily been avoided.
Mr. Ottoman, that's the first good thing that you've said to me, sir. You said we were all drunk.
Sure.
Well, unfortunately, Mr. Ottoman, you can't speak for anybody else, so I assume that what you're really saying was, I was drunk.
Sure.
So you acted with a certain amount of reckless abandon by running across the street.
I agree.
Now, what happened when you got there?
Words were exchanged.
By the way, who were you talking to on the phone?
I couldn't tell you.
What do you mean you couldn't tell me? You said you were on the phone.
Yeah. Well, actually, I do know it's a girl named Corey. She was one of the ones that was actually there, but she was inside for some reason. I don't know why. I was calling her.
I don't understand why you were talking to her if she was inside. Did she
Me,
call you?
I couldn't tell you.
You couldn't because you don't remember?
No, I don't know why I was calling her. I was with her.
Okay. You don't know why you were calling her. So you ran across the street and you said what to Mr. Richardson?
Well, actually, Ashley ran across the street, and I followed her.
Ashley?
Yes, ma'am.
Who was also drunk?
Yes. The one that they were talking to.
What did she say when she went running across the street?
I don't know. I couldn't tell you.
And you went running after her?
Yes, ma'am.
Keep going.
After I get over there, words were exchanged. Started a little scuffle. I don't know exactly.
What do you mean a scuffle? I don't understand what that means, scuffle.
Sizing each other up, I guess.
I don't know what that means, sizing each other up.
There was no physical contact until I turned around, walking away, about 5 steps away, not even looking at this guy, runs up, hits me in the back of my head, and I fall down on my face. I bust 2 teeth out on the concrete.
And you hadn't hit him.
And he jumps in his car.
Just a second. And you hadn't hit him.
No.
And
no physical contact whatsoever.
And you're positive of that?
Yes, ma'am.
And that's what the assault is about?
Yes.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
So what you're saying is you were too drunk, you didn't connect.
Right.
He did.
When my back was turned and I was walking away.
Listen to me. You know what happens sometimes?
What?
Doodle happens.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Joseph Ottoman says he was assaulted outside a bar by fellow student Timothy Richardson. Timothy says Joseph started it, and he finished it.
Now we'll hear you, Mr. Richardson.
Well, first off,
Listen to me. See my eyes?
Yeah.
That's where your eyes are going to be. Not on your shoes, not on your hands. Right here.
Okay. Where the altercation happened, it was like 2 blocks behind Old Town, where all the bars were. And I was with some other friends that were out there, and I was walking with them. I lost my ride, and so I got on the cell phone, and as I got off the phone, I heard this Ashley, I presumed was the girlfriend, why the whole thing got started in the first place. And I heard her say something to me. I replied with no vulgarity. I just looked over. I replied nice. I was like, hey, girl, what's up? And before she even said anything, he came out and started saying, oh, you know, F you, F this, you talking, blah, blah, all of that. And I was like, I'm not even talking to you. What's your problem? And then he came out into the middle of the street and was challenging me to come to him. And, like, I don't have a habit of going and picking a fight when I'm outnumbered and all that. So I was just like, okay, yeah, that's right. I'll keep walking away. He's like, yeah, you know, you effing P word, keep walking away. I was like, all right, buddy, that's right, I'll keep walking away. So when I got to the car, he came and he got in my face, and that was the only time that I remember saying anything vulgar at all, because he was in my face. And and then on the second encounter, I tried to get away, and it's in the police report. He's like, yeah, that's right, get back in your effing Subaru. And he was in my face, and then when he tried to sidestep him, that's when confrontation arose. He pushed me, and the next thing I know, he comes at me, punching me. And he actually connected with the last punch. He hit me in the lip. I fell down, I yelled for Chris, and that's when he rose his hands up, and he's like, I'll F Chris up. And when he backed up and put his hands up, I didn't want it, because I was kind of on my knees. I felt vulnerable. So I jumped up, hit him in the side of the face, and he had fell down, and then his other friend came to us trying to confront us. He's like, oh, what have you done? Because I saw that I hit him once, he fell to the ground, and I knew, he was in bad shape. And then his other friend came to us, and at that point, I thought the best thing to do was to leave, and we got out of there.
Okay. Who's Emma Lee?
She was a lady who lived in the apartment building right in front of where...
Yes! The only one who's not a friend, who says there was a lot of cursing, both sides. Doesn't know who started the physical fight, but there was definitely an acknowledgement of a fight. 3 or 4 punches were thrown by each guy. Then the fella in the white pants hit another fella in the neck or head, and Joe fell face first into the street. I came outside to help. I kept him from getting up before the ambulance arrived. Emma Lee says she saw lots of fighting before you got hit, sir.
It was drunken fighting. Now, you gotta understand, there was no contact made. I understand I was drunk. I admit that.
Listen to me. If you were drunk and there was lots of fighting, she says she saw a lot of fighting. So what you're saying is you were too drunk, you didn't connect.
Right.
He did.
When my back was turned and I was walking away.
Listen to me. He did.
Right.
He connected.
Okay.
You were too drunk to connect.
Right.
Why are you here?
Because I was walking away, calling it a night. When he decided to connect was when I was walking away, trying to get out of there. I didn't want any more to do with the situation. I was already talking to him, face back to this guy. He decides, runs up, hits me in the back of the head, jumps in his car, and takes off.
You know what happens sometimes?
What?
Doodle happens. That's what happens when you're drunk and stupid. You know who started it? You and Ashley. You know who finished it? He did. You started it. He finished it. Stop being a crybaby. That's what happens when you're 21 years old and drunk and stupid. Things happen. And you ended up without 2 front teeth. That's your fault. It's not my fault. It's not his fault. Sometimes when you act drunk and stupid, you get the worst of the fight. Ends up on your face. That's what happens sometimes. So if you want to take this as a good life's lesson, sir, you don't drink until you're so stupid that you don't remember who you're talking to on the phone, what you're talking about. You stay sober enough to remain in control of your actions. And when you don't come crying to courts and say, you got to help me now because I was drunk and stupid. I made myself clear to you. Your case is dismissed.
Pas excuse, mais step up.
I'm really sorry what happened. You know, I'm not a violent person, whatever.
Oh, no, I know he was, and whatever. I mean, it's not a big deal.
You know, it's just a lesson learned, you know, go out and drink and have fun.
What happens, happens. I gotta learn from it.
But don't have confrontation, because only bad things come from it.
Christina Smith claims ex-boyfriend Gerald Ware Jr. owes for his share of a cruise vacation, utility bills, and a loan to retain an attorney.
Ms. Smith, you and the defendant dated for a period of time and signed a 6-month lease together in August of 2006?
That is correct.
How long had you been dating before you decided to move in with him?
I met him in March, so I was dating under 6 months.
I ask that not because it's particularly relevant, but I'm conducting my own sociological study. I want to see how quickly it is that people make this
mistake.
Right.
Yes.
In any event, your lawsuit says that you moved in August.
Yes, August 5th.
And you moved out in?
September 25th.
Right, so the living together at least saved you a bad marriage.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Good. It is your claim that Mr. Ware is responsible for half of a cruise that you booked with his consent and his agreement to pay for half of the trip. It was a non-refundable amount of money. It was $2,000, $1,000 for you, $1,000 for him, which, of course, he didn't go on.
Correct.
Because the cruise was scheduled for?
October 13th. October 7th, excuse me.
Did you take anyone else with you?
No.
So you had the cabin all by yourself?
I sure did.
So let's deal with that first. You moved in August. Things started to go downhill right away. I don't have to know the why. It was not good. You were both not unhappy with the separation. Is that right?
Yes.
You moved out, but you continued to pay the rent, your half of the rent.
I did.
Does she still continue to pay her half of the rent?
Up until December.
I think she's a princess. And you continued to live there?
Yes, I did.
All by yourself?
And my kids, when I had them for visitation, yes, I did.
Well, isn't that nice?
Yeah.
So you had a great place to live. Are you still living there?
Until January 6th.
And then what happens?
I received a 30-day notice.
Why?
Because she didn't pay her, as it states in this letter, she didn't pay for December's rent.
Why didn't you pay?
I paid my half.
Why didn't you pay the whole thing?
Because I have a written agreement from her that says that she would pay the half as long as I didn't have a room.
I'm telling you, if she's paid September, October, and November, and she hasn't lived there, and you've lived there with your kids, so how old are you?
Me, 37.
Why don't you take care of your own responsibilities? Where are you going after January? They gave you a 30-day notice. Where do you intend to go?
Oh, I'll find a place. No, none in mind right now.
What do you mean you have none in mind?
Well, I'm looking.
How much rent do you pay?
$675.
Is that the entire rent?
No.
Or just your half?
That my half.
Okay. When you moved in to that apartment, where had you been living just prior to that?
With my boss, as well as Christina.
With your boss?
Yes.
What kind of work do you do?
I am a cabinet installer.
And you lived in your boss's house?
Yes, I did. As well as he's a friend as well.
Before you lived with your boss, where did you live?
I lived with my friend, me and a friend named Brian.
And when you lived with Brian, how much rent did you pay?
About $300 a month, because it was just for a room.
How many children do you have?
2.
How much child support do you pay?
The child support is, my son is not legally mine. I accepted that responsibility when he was born, and after she went after his real father for child support, so they dismissed that court order, and for Bella it's $246, I think it is.
How much child support do you pay?
$246.
He doesn't pay child support.
When was the last time you paid child support, Mr. Ware?
It's been a couple years because my ex-wife put a letter in. She said that when she required me to pay child support, that I didn't see the kids regularly, so she wrote a letter to the district attorneys in Sacramento County.
That's hearsay. I just asked you a simple question. When was the last time you paid child support? You said several years ago.
Yeah.
You just told me that you used your apartment, sir, this apartment that you were living in and having half the rent paid by the plaintiff for both yourself and your children when you had them. So clearly you were seeing your children within the last 3 or 4 months.
Yes.
But you haven't been paying child support.
No.
Is this your boss?
Yes, it is.
How did I know that? Are you paid on the books or off the books?
On the books. I'm 1099.
And how much was your 1099 last year?
I didn't work for him last year.
Yes, he did.
Mr. Ware, he doesn't even want to stand up anymore and get involved with this, sir. Did you file tax returns last year?
No, I did not.
You just told me you lived with your boss last year before you moved in with her.
Last year.
What's your last name, sir?
McWee, ma'am.
You want to leave now?
No, ma'am.
You might want to rethink that. You get me? Good. So you're paid in cash and you don't pay taxes and you don't pay child support. You're supposed to pay your own rent.
I did. My house.
Well, you didn't pay, no, your own rent. Listen to me, Mr. 37 years old. You live in this country. You work for him. You're supposed to pay taxes like everybody else, which you don't do. You have children, 2, or maybe just 1. They come to visit you, and yet you have no fiscal responsibility for them. The rest of her lawsuit is, she says, A, she made a small loan to you for a lawyer. I'm not so interested in that, $199. But she said that you had no credit. Well, the reason you have no credit is because you allegedly have no income. So that she put all the utilities in her name. She put all the utilities in her name, left them in her name because she had no credit, and you didn't pay the bill, even when she was paying her half of the rent. Sir?
I was giving her half my check. She went over to my boss's house and received money from them.
You mean after she moved out?
After she moved out?
I'm talking about after she moved out.
After she moved out, I told her she threatened to turn everything off. I told her to go ahead and turn everything off.
Oh, she should have.
So?
And she didn't.
And she didn't.
And did you turn the lights on?
I
Listen
couldn't.
to me. Did you turn the lights on?
Yes, I did.
Did you turn the stove on?
Yes,
did you
I did.
plug in a coffee maker?
Yes, I did.
So you used the juice. When you use the juice, you have to pay for it. Did you use the telephone?
Yes, I did.
If you use the telephone, you have to pay. If you're an American citizen and you use the roads and you use the other services that the government provides, you have to pay taxes. How much were your electric bills and service bills after you moved out? I'm talking about just for him.
Yes, the dish bill came to $292.23. I actually put a passcode on there around October 20th when I found out there was adult movies rented on there.
He had to do something to keep himself occupied. Next.
Sure West bill was $260.14.
Is that it?
Yes, and if you're not going to do the attorney bill.
No. $552, rounding it out, Bird. Thank you. Is that right?
Yes.
No sense. Good. $552. Now, let's talk about the cruise, Mr. Ware. You told her to go ahead and book the cruise?
The cruise was planned before I met her. We had been talking about it amongst friends before she moved in, and her sister is a friend of my boss.
Did you tell her to go ahead and book the cruise?
No, I did not.
That's not what you said here, sir.
My boss's wife booked
That's not what you said here, sir, in your answer. Just because you broke up doesn't mean that you don't pay for half the cruise. You pay for half the cruise. What?
In order to get the cruise, you have to do double occupancy.
Don't speak to me sitting down.
Sorry, ma'am. We told them both prior to this going that if anything happened, that you have to pay double occupancy to get on this cruise in order to get all the cabins together. So I said, if something happens, you can't change it, you can't get the money back, and they were both aware of that.
You made that clear to both of them?
Correct.
Terrific. Thank you. You can sit down.
I gave Gerald every opportunity to go on that cruise.
Listen, it happens. He's got to pay for half the cruise because you're out the money. Do you understand?
No, I don't, but...
Well, it's very, very easy, sir. There's no way that you wanted to go on this cruise, and there's no way that you were going to share a cabin together. Somebody was going to go on the cruise. Now, it is my sense that if you said to her, I will give you the $2,000, I will go on the cruise instead of you, she would have said, great.
No.
She would have said to you, great. You go on the cruise, and I won't. But right now, she had $2,000 invested in this cruise, and she hadn't seen a penny from you.
Yes, she had, ma'am.
Oh, really? You paid for some?
I was giving her all my checks that I was receiving from him.
Checks?
To
You
pay
get cash?
for...
Listen to me.
Well, cash. To pay for credit card bills that were outstanding
We're
when we
not
met.
talking credit card bills, sir.
That's
We're talking
how
about the cruise.
That's how the cruise was paid, on credit card.
How much money were you giving her?
I was receiving $500 a week.
In what?
In cash.
I love it when a game plan comes together. Just think of it this way, sir. It's your contribution to taxes. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,552.
Judge,
That's all.
I have some joy. I want to give back to his daughter.
Perfect. That's all. Thank you.
Dawn Chunt is suing her son, 21-year-old Scott King, for a loan to purchase a 1999 Chevy Cavalier. Scott claims the car was a gift.
Ms. Chunt, this young man is your son.
Yes, ma'am.
And your complaint alleges that he owes you a balance of a car loan.
correct.
And your son says the car was a gift to him?
That's correct, Your Honor.
Did I ask you a question?
No, I'm sorry.
And while he helped you financially for a while, had nothing to do with this being a loan, it was always a gift, and when he had his expenses got to a point where he could no longer help you out, he just stopped. Is that...
That's
now
correct.
I'm looking at you.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Do you want me to yell at him?
Please.
Who is this person?
This is my son's ex-girlfriend, Jessica.
And who is this?
This is my current girlfriend, Kelly.
Is she here for any particular reason?
More or less. She was witness to an instance over the summer where I actually offered a reconciliation to my mother at a festival downtown. And basically my mother told me she was in the process of filing bankruptcy and that my help was too late and basically shrugged me off and walked away. So at that point I felt like I was no longer obligated to even try to reconcile or help out the situation at all.
Let me understand this. I'm going to put what you just said to me because I know that one thing you're going to learn as you get older, you have to think about what you say before you say it.
Absolutely.
What you just said to me was, this young lady is a witness to something that happened recently. When you said to your mother, listen, let me try to work this out with you, you know, with the car, and she shrugged you off and said to you, I filed bankruptcy and your help is too late.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Well, that's, Mr. King sort of acknowledges that this was a loan.
Well,
don't well me.
I'm sorry.
That sort of acknowledges that you had some responsibility in your mother's financial situation. You got to keep it simple. All right, when was the car purchased, Miss Shawn?
August of 2002.
How old are you?
21.
How old were you when the car was purchased?
I believe 19, Your Honor.
How much were the car payments each month, Mr. King?
$150 maybe, Your Honor. I'm not sure.
Well, you were making the car payments for a while.
Yes, correct. It was a long time ago.
Okay. You were making the car payments for a while. So when you say it was $150 a month, was it $150 or $152, $156?
Couldn't tell you, Your Honor. Don't have my checkbooks from back then anymore.
How many years did you make the payments?
I'd probably say 12 months.
When you stopped making the payments, did you notify your mother?
Absolutely.
Is that right?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. I found out 3 months after the fact that he stopped making the payments that from the finance company contacted me and said the payments had ceased.
You have the
payment
letter?
was $177.26.
You have the letter from the
No, they
finance
didn't. They just called me and I made a payment over the phone. He made $3,000 worth of the $6,000 loan.
Well, that's a pretty good track record, Mr. King, for somebody who got a gift. See what I mean?
Yes, Your Honor.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Dawn Chount says her son, Scott King, owes for the balance on a car. Dawn claims Scott traded the car in and kept the money.
And did you file a bankruptcy last summer?
Absolutely not. I've never filed bankruptcy. I have no intention of ever filing bankruptcy.
What kind of work do you do, Ms. Shawn?
I'm an administrative assistant for a management firm.
Who's driving the car?
He's traded that car in on a new vehicle. Yes, ma'am. I have. He got $4,000 on a trade-in, and instead of paying off the loan, he decided to use that $4,000 to purchase his brand new Focus that he's now driving. And they gave him $4,000 for the car, and he used it as a down payment.
Yeah? I mean, you're just going to stand there and look foolish?
No, Your Honor. I mean, what do you want me to say about that? Yes, I traded the vehicle in.
Well, if you traded the vehicle in, who did you expect to make the payments after you traded the vehicle in?
When I was living rent-free, I had no issues helping out with the bills. I was working full-time, going to school full-time.
Helping out with the bills is a different story, Mr. King. Helping out with the bills means, Mom, he has $200 or $300 for rent, or he has $100 a week for rent. That's a different helping out with the bills. You made the car payment directly.
It was sporadically. It was, you know, a chunk here, a chunk there.
Well, that's because you were young and stupid. That's not because that's the way people do business.
I know that now, Your Honor.
How much is left owing on the car?
Approximately $3,000.
Let me see.
I'm sorry, $2,000 is my balance right now. Here's my current statement from the finance company showing the balance as of today.
And I'm amazed that you traded this car in, that they let you trade the car in with a lien.
Because it was a personal loan.
May I say something, Your Honor?
It was a personal loan? What do you mean it was a personal loan?
It was a signature loan. There was no collateral.
What do you want to say?
Well, this wasn't financing that I requested. It wasn't I mean, I was at the age where I could acquire credit myself. This is a loan that she got, and she acted sporadically like, let's do this now, let's get this now, you need this. I wasn't prepared to make this transaction, and it was basically thrown upon me out of need, out of necessity, from her standpoint, that we needed a better ride for me and Jessica to go to college and back and whatnot. And it happened within a day. We got the check in the mail, and the next day I had a car. It was like that quick. And I mean, I don't agree that I didn't ask for the loan. I didn't want the loan. I don't even consider it a loan. It wasn't something that I was part of at all. It was something that was thrown upon me, and now I felt like I was being held accountable, like it being dangled over my head from that point forward. After we got rid of my Escort, I had no vehicle. So we had the Cavalier, and I was like, make the payment or you lose it. And I was like, this isn't something I ever wanted or wanted to acquire. If I had it my way, I would have still had my old vehicle, and everything would have been okay from that point forward. I don't feel like this was any kind of my decision, and it was forced upon me.
Was he a difficult pregnancy?
Actually, ma'am.
No, I'm asking you, was he a difficult?
No, he was all of my children were very easy. And he was a very cooperative. I was working, got it from the dealer. He was going on a test drive. Mom, I really want this car. I tried talking him out of purchasing this car.
Listen to me.
That's not true.
No 19-year-old or 18-year-old says... 18. Says, Mom, I don't want this nice car. I want to drive the piece of junk that I'm driving. I'm really happy driving around with my girlfriend in this piece of junk that doesn't start all the time.
Absolutely.
Please, I don't even want to think about a nice car. Being 18, I want to take the bus, take the train. With my,
no, ma'am.
That's how we want to go out.
You wouldn't take a bus to school, to high school.
No. I just want to know whether you had any clue in utero that he was going to develop into this.
No, the last thing I want to do is be here against my son.
I did,
let me tell you.
Excuse me?
The last place I want to be is here with my son.
I don't blame you.
Yes, absolutely.
I don't blame you.
I just can't afford to make payments on something that is non-existent.
Well, I think that he's got some nerve trading it in. That really suggests to me, I'm speaking.
I'm sorry.
That really suggests to me that he is really totally an amoral person. He could have traded it in for something and given you the money.
That would have been really nice.
That would have been, and not put you in a hole. Because according to Freshmouth over here, he at least thought that you were filing for bankruptcy. He at least thought that you were in financial difficulty. And one of the reasons that you were in financial difficulty was because of his actions. Because according to him, new girlfriend over here, whose purpose in being here is to tell me about this conversation that she heard about looking forward to helping his mother, right? Isn't that what he said you were going to tell me?
Right.
Right. Means that he understood that his conduct created a negative situation for you.
And I do admit that.
Get over it.
Ma'am, can I give Scott the title to his Focus? Because it's at my house.
No, I don't want you to give him anything.
This is his title for his car that he's driving now.
Listen to me. I don't want you to give him anything.
Okay.
He's got to understand what aggravation is. And if he doesn't have a title to the car that he's driving now because it came to your house, let him go to motor vehicles, fill out all the paperwork that he has a lost title, that the title never arrived, that he moved. He'll fill out an affidavit that he never got the title because he no longer lives in your house. Let him do something. Do you understand?
I understand.
He has to experience some pain. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,000.
Thank you, ma'am.
That's all.
Danielle Hines says her former live-in boyfriend, Devin Kilpatrick, owes for rent and the return of property. Devin says he moved out after Danielle filed for a restraining order.
Matt, Ms. Hines, the defendant is your former boyfriend. You lived together. He's also the father of your child.
Yes.
You had a lease together. He moved out 4 months prior to the lease terminating.
Yes.
You took him to court for 2 months of the 4 months.
Yes.
Because the other 2 months hadn't passed yet. And you got a judgment against him for those 2 months.
Yes.
Now you want the last 2 months of the rent that he owes you. And you also claim that you had a lot of pain and suffering because he wasn't a nice guy.
Yes.
Well, forget pain and suffering. You don't get paid for pain and suffering. You terminate a relationship for pain and suffering. Do you understand?
Yes.
Good. So you want your rent.
Yes.
Mr. Kilpatrick has a very good excuse for not paying the rent for the last 2 months.
Yes, I do, ma'am.
He says that the reason he didn't pay rent for the last 2 months is because you filed a restraining order against him and his mother, and so he couldn't live in the apartment, and if he couldn't live in the apartment, then he wasn't going to pay rent.
Not
That's
true.
his defense.
Yes.
So, when did you move into the apartment?
We moved in March 14, 2006.
And you were both on the lease?
Yes, we were.
And when did you leave, sir?
I'm not exactly sure.
When did he leave?
November 9th, and they filed for the restraining order. He was
November 9th,
Yes.
2006.
Yes.
And when did you file a restraining order against him?
I filed November 2nd, but he was served November 14th at 5:55 a.m.
But you had filed it on November 2nd.
Yes.
I want to see the allegations that you put in the restraining order application. Thank you. You filed this on November the 2nd, and according to this, it says the most recent date of abuse was September 10th, 2006. And you say he strangled me to the point that I could not scream anymore. He also stated that he would only get a slap on the wrists.
If he did it again.
It would be something he would hit me because it was his first offense. And you filed this 2 months later. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Between September 10th and November the 2nd, when you went to the police to file for this restraining order, where were you living?
I was staying there, but he wasn't.
You were in the apartment?
Yes.
And he was not living there?
He was still living there, but he never came home. He was in and out. He would go to his mom's house. We were sleeping in separate bedrooms. I was sleeping in my daughter's room, and he was sleeping in our bedroom.
Fine. So then my question, 2 months later, what prompted you to go to the police?
I don't have transportation. Not only was I trying to get to the courthouse to file a restraining order on him, everything in between then, I was going to the police station. I was always talking to the police about what I can do about our child and him getting out of the apartment, but not necessarily him moving out because I still needed him to pay his half of the rent.
Just a second. You asked for, in your restraining order, a stay-away order asking that he may not be within 15 feet from you. How was he supposed to be within 15 feet from you if he was still living in the apartment?
Because at the time, whenever he would come home, he would go in his room, and I'll either be sleeping in the living room on the floor or in our bedroom.
Listen, did you want him out of the apartment or in the apartment?
I wanted him to stay because he was still on
Then
the
there was
lease.
no reason for you to file for a protective order.
I just
It's
didn't want
nonsense.
him to hit me again.
You said that the last time he put his hands on you was when he choked you 2 months before. That's what you swore to in here.
Yes.
So that there had to be a reason, 2 months later, that you went to the police, you managed to find your way to the police.
Yes.
And file this protective order.
I went to the courthouse to file that.
Listen, you're not being honest with me. He moved out. He had a right to move out. He would have been crazy to stay there. Absolutely insane to stay there with a protective order. When all you have to do is pick up the phone, call the police, they come, they arrest him. And all you have to do is say he threatened me and he finds himself in jail. So he would be insane to stay in the apartment.
May I please say something?
Sure.
It says right here that he was not even served. He didn't even know I had a restraining order on him until after. I'm telling you.
It doesn't make any difference whether he knew or not, madam. You knew.
Yes.
So how dare you come here knowing that you had the restraining order, that you didn't serve on him for another couple of days, but you knew you had it,
Yes.
and still want him to pay rent?
Because his name was still on the lease. I did not ask Devin to leave. They said 15 feet because his name was still on the lease. They could not kick him out. I had no choice. I didn't want him to put his hands on me again, Judge.
Good.
I was afraid. I didn't know what else to do.
I understand. You should have left. Should have left. But you can't go get a restraining order on him and say you have to stay in the house, despite the fact that I have a restraining order on you.
Okay.
So now you are like my prisoner. You look at me cross-eyed, I'm going to call the police. Whether he did anything bad to you in September or not, I don't know. Certainly you didn't go to the police in September. So he would be nuts to stay with you. And now you come to court and you say, I want him to pay the rent.
Yes, because...
When he did nothing to you in November, nothing to you in October, nothing to you 3 weeks in September. If I believe that you got into a fight and he put his hands on you in September, I'm not condoning that.
Okay.
And if you put him out right away, I would have said, okay.
Okay.
And if I believed that he choked you in September, I would have said, you're bad. You have to pay the rent.
Okay.
But when you wait 2 months, there's something else going on.
I tried.
Okay,
I
I'm
did
trying
everything-
to. Believe
No,
me, I'm
Judge,
trying.
I did everything I could to get to the police department. I went throughout the month of October to get information on what I could do because he's the father of my child. I was trying to ask for information about child custody and what I could do about everything.
I'm not talking about child custody.
I know
I'm talking
domestic violence.
I'm talking about a restraining order.
Okay.
Not child custody, not support, not anything else. Just about the fact that you were in abject fear of him and in need of a protective order that excluded him from the house. Because not to be within 15 feet of you is a ridiculous order against somebody that you expect to live in the apartment with you. Ridiculous. I'm telling you, you cannot live with somebody
Okay.
with a restraining order and expect them to stay in the apartment because of the way the laws are recognized now, all you have to do is call the police and say, he looked at me cross-eyed, I want him arrested. And then he's there on a violation of a protective order, which allows them to incarcerate him for up to 6 months by just looking at you cross-eyed.
But those were not my intentions.
Oh, listen, I don't care what your intentions were or not. The fact is you did have a restraining order against him, and he was perfectly right to leave because you didn't go and file that restraining order at the time you allege he hurt you.
Okay.
You waited 2 months. So there was some other agenda that you had, and I don't know what that was because you look at me, like you don't understand what I'm talking about. But then you were served with the restraining order and you came back into the apartment with your mother.
No, not my mother.
When?
Around, I guess, a week later.
After you were served?
Yeah, I came, I got all my stuff, and then that was it.
Not true.
You came and you got some of your stuff, included the refrigerator.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, that's what she's annoyed at because
I
the
had-
refrigerator, she said, was given to both of you as a couple by your mother.
She didn't give it to us both as a couple. She
I
gave
don't
it to
care.
me.
Yeah, she did at the time because you were both eating out of the refrigerator, I
Judge.
assume. But he's allowed to keep the refrigerator.
It was not a week later. It was the same day because I had to purchase a refrigerator the very same day. I have the receipt with the date.
But I
and
don't
time
understand
on it.
what you want, and I don't understand what your pain and suffering is.
Because I almost had a miscarriage. I had to be taken out of school literally. On November 29th, my doctor had to write me an excuse because I had to keep on being rushed to the hospital. And I have all the hospital papers stating that I had
You have a hospital paper that says it's his fault that you almost had a miscarriage?
Well, it was stress.
Of course it's stressful. Life is stressful, madam. Life is stressful.
Yes, it is.
Life is stressful. You don't want to be stressed until you're sure about somebody. You shouldn't get pregnant by them.
Actually, those were my intentions either.
Well, if
I
not
have
your
papers
intentions,
show-
then what you do is you take care.
But I was on birth control. I have the papers proving that I was on birth control. You would like to see it.
Well, I suggest you sue the birth control company because it failed. Listen to me, Miss Hines. Are you living in the apartment now by yourself?
Yes. No.
Well, how are you supporting yourself?
I had money that was saved up, and I spent all that money on the rent.
How old are you?
I'm 20 and a half.
So why don't you go to your father or your mother's house? You're 20 years old and you have a baby. He should pay child support, but he's not going to support you. You're not his wife.
No,
He said he'll contribute to the support of his child. He absolutely should do that.
But
Are
he's
you
not.
paying child support?
No, not yet.
Why not?
She just, I don't know, she just filed it, I guess.
She doesn't have to file it. Did you see your baby?
Yeah.
Well,
no.
You have to take care of your baby.
I see him when I can. I work about 6 days a week, so I can't be there all the
Well,
time.
if you work 6 days a week, then what you should do is you should have enough money to help support him.
But he
And you don't
doesn't.
need a court order to tell you that, sir. Do you understand?
Mm-hmm.
I should see the money coming out of your wallet right now.
Please, for some diapers. I would like some diapers.
Listen
for
to
our
me.
son.
Don't talk to him.
Okay, I won't.
I should see money coming out of your wallet now. Did you hear what I said?
I heard you.
Get it out.
Don't have none in my wallet.
How could a man who works 6 days a week not have any money in their wallet?
I don't keep money in my wallet.
Where do you keep it?
In the bank.
Good. How much money do you have in the bank?
Don't know.
Well, I've got news for you, sir. When ultimately you're going to want to see this child, and the tape of this is going to be available for her, for whatever, you get no sympathy from me if a father needs a court order to tell him that he's supposed to pay child support. Court's not supposed to tell you that. And here is supposed to tell you that. Do you understand? So the support should be forthcoming. You don't have to pay anything for rent. Because she wanted to live alone, she filed for a protective order against you. And if that's the case, then she pays the rent. Got it?
Okay.
And if you don't want to pay the rent, go home to your mother. Or get a job and start supporting yourself.
I will.
Good. Perfect. Your case is dismissed. That's all.
Ashley McLeod says former friend Justin Lawler owes for late fees associated with a broken window on her rental car. Ashley says police officers were forced to break into the car after Justin passed out drunk.
Miss McLeod, you and the defendant were friends. It's my understanding that you wanted to take a little day road trip together. You needed a car, so you rented a car on your credit card.
Yes.
And you were going from someplace to San Diego?
Actually, we were going from Austin, Texas to South Padre Island. And Justin had told me that he had to be on the rental car agreement because I couldn't rent the car by myself because I was under 21.
Okay, but the car was leased with your credit card?
Yeah.
Okay, and he was driving?
Yes.
What time did you rent the car?
We had gone that Friday. It was sometime in the afternoon to rent the car. And then we were going to leave for South Padre shortly after we had rented the car.
And you did?
Yep.
Was he drinking?
When the incident occurred, he had been to a few bars. He'd had a few drinks.
Well, that would be a yes.
Yes.
To make a long story short, what happened was he took the car to go from one place to another. I don't know where you were going. But according to you pulled the car over and fell asleep, but fell into a dead sleep coma because the police came up to the car and they tried to wake you.
It was actually parked in a parking spot.
They tried to wake you, and they couldn't wake you from this deep coma sleep. They banged on the door, they rapped with their baton, and then they feared for your safety. Since the car was locked, they busted out the window of the car in order to ensure that you were safe.
Ashley McLeod says former friend Justin Lawler owes for late fees associated in her rental car. Ashley says police officers were forced to break into the car after Justin passed out drunk.
Now, the car had to be taken in to be fixed. You paid for the window, but it took time, and she was charged $500 extra on her credit card that she feels as if you're responsible for, because but for the fact that you fell asleep in the car, it wouldn't have happened. That's your case.
Yes.
Mr. Lawler has an interesting defense that we are all breathlessly waiting to hear.
Well, when we first rented the car, I actually told her to get the rental car insurance because that way if anything did happen, we would not be liable for the damages done. And at that time, she said that she had insurance. It would be $100 cheaper. The guy rang it up with the insurance on it for the rental car. And then she said, well, no, it'd be cheaper if we do it the other way. I didn't want to because I had rented a car before and know that if you get rental car insurance, it covers everything. So she insisted on putting her current insurance on there. And once we got down there, her mom, she talked to her, told her the insurance was on there. And then her mom said if anything happened to that car, that their insurance would get dropped. So the insurance didn't cover the actual damages done at all.
Can I say something? What?
No!
Oh, sorry.
I'm not finished with him yet.
Sorry.
So let me understand his defense. His defense is she should have taken out the insurance.
Right.
That's your defense.
Yes, ma'am.
Sounds right to you?
Well, that sounds like what he said.
That sounds right. Why did you fall asleep in the car, Mr. Lawler?
Why did I fall asleep in the car?
Just a second. Is there an echo in here? I know that you think that it's going to give you an opportunity to think of a reason.
He wasn't sleeping.
I'll get back to you. Why did you fall asleep in the car?
I had a couple drinks and I passed out in the car, and it was parked in a parking spot.
There you go.
I was not driving the car, though, that night.
All right, Mr. Lawler, let's dissect what you just said to me.
Okay.
You think that because you talk fast, that I'm not going to be able to dissect what you said to me? Okay. So you had had a few drinks and you passed out in the car.
I pulled the car over. I didn't
That's
drink. Yes,
what you just said. Had a few drinks. Now, where did you do this drinking?
I had a couple hotel rooms.
Not in bars. You were in hotel rooms.
No, I was actually... Sorry.
Who were you in hotel rooms with?
Just different kids we were selling tickets for our Akon party that next day.
How many different hotel rooms had you been in drinking that night?
Just a couple, actually.
Same hotel?
Just different ones.
Different hotels?
Yes.
How did you get there from one to the other?
I drove the first...
I drove.
The first one, yes.
Just a minute. I drove. And how'd you get to the second one?
The second one?
Yes, the
My
second
friend took
one.
me to the second one in his
The
car.
second one. Your friend took you in his car, and you left your car where?
There's a condo that was parked at.
You didn't tell me you were in a condo, sir. You said you were in hotel
Well,
rooms.
that's what South Potter has, condos and hotels. We just go to different ones.
You told me you were in a hotel room. Do you see where we're going, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Cameras pick up everything. So do my eyes. I have very, very bad vision when I have to read something without my glasses. Far away, I can tell a smirk and an I gotcha from a mile away. What do you do for a living?
I'm a promoter for a production company.
They're usually pretty glib and pretty light on their feet. Promoters. I've been promoting myself for 3 times as long as you're alive. You owe her for the car. And you're going to pay her for the car because it was your fault.
Even though the insurance...
Your fault! Nobody laid you down, pried open your mouth, and poured alcohol down your throat. Nobody told you to fall asleep in the car. Nobody told you not to tell your friend, would you please take me back to one of these condos where I'm supposed to be staying tonight? Nobody told you any of that. You were drunk. You drove a car drunk. You passed out in the car. Your fault. You pay for it.
The remaining charges that he owes me for is $541.63.
Did you pay for your half of the rental?
Yes.
Okay. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $541.63. Thank you very much. That's all.
The next case.
All parties in the matter of Livingston versus Goebel, step forward, please.
Electrician David Livingston is suing his former friend, 29-year-old nurse's assistant Kimberly Goebel, for a series of unpaid loans. David says he met Kimberly on the internet, and she played him for a fool.
Mr. Livingston, it is your claim that the defendant, who you met on the internet and had started a relationship with, owes you for 2 loans that you made to her.
Correct.
How old are you, sir?
40.
Ever been married?
Yes.
More than once?
No.
How long?
Well, a little over a year.
Long time ago?
Yes, 13 years.
So you've been single ever since? You're looking for the right girl?
Well, one day.
She's not it.
I understand that. It was never that way, Your Honor.
No. I'm just telling you.
Right.
She's not it. When did you start communicating with Miss Goebel on the internet?
It was about June or July of last year.
And when for the first time did you meet her?
Probably about a month after we started talking.
Of 04?
Yes.
Where did you meet her?
We first met, she needed some stuff. She needed some feminine stuff. And so she asked me as a favor, as a friend, and I went and took her some feminine materials.
That's the first time you met her?
I believe so, Your Honor.
You mean you communicated on the internet and she said, I have to go get some feminine hygiene stuff, and you said, okay,
Well,
I'll come and pick
there was
you up?
a lot of history behind that, Your Honor. Because we had talked on the phone also. We talked on the phone also.
I
We
don't
built
care
a
whether you
little
talked
rapport.
on the phone. I don't care whether you blew up balloons together, whether you
Okay.
sent pigeons to each other's homes. Doesn't make any difference to me. It just seems very peculiar that the first time that you meet a woman, she takes you to the drugstore to buy her feminine products.
Well, you know, I do have to correct myself, Your Honor. I believe the first time we met, we went to a bar for a beer.
Now that sounds like a thing. Is that what happened to Miss
And the whole time that we were sitting there communicating, she was on the cell phone the whole time.
Listen, Mr. Livingston, if now you're telling me that the first time you met, she sat on the phone talking to somebody, and then you gave her money sometime in the future, that doesn't make you look too smart.
Well, I understand that, Your Honor, but
Okay,
it was
good. So, August is when you met for the first time.
correct.
Now, I'd like you to tell me when you gave her money for the first time.
It was in
The
November.
questions are going to get harder, sir. Your lawsuit involves 2 different dates that you gave her money. Those should be right up there, because the questions are going to get more complex after that.
Okay. It was approximately 1st of September.
So, within a couple of weeks of meeting her.
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, tell me about that.
Well, she had always played this hard luck story. She was trying to change her life. Said she'd quit drugs. She was trying to get away from the people that she was hanging out with. And when I was down and out, somebody was there to help me. And she pretty much played me that she was a wounded duck and she was trying to change her life. She said if she didn't get her phone bill paid, she couldn't talk to her mom, she couldn't talk to those people that were important to her. And so it didn't happen overnight. She asked me several times, and there were several times that I said, Kim, quit calling me. And she would also call back and say, you know what, I'm sorry, I understand, and can we be friends? I
Good.
said,
So
sure.
you gave her how much to pay for her phone bill?
I actually paid it for her. I went down to Smith's, got a money order, and mailed it in for $50 for her cell phone bill.
Okay. And the next?
The next was she bought a car.
When?
She purchased a car in February of this year.
So since August, you've been in a relationship with you. You're talking about February
Friendship.
2005.
Friendship.
So between September and February, I assume she didn't pay you back the $50.
Correct. She kept
Okay,
saying that there was a lawsuit. She was going to get a settlement.
There's my uncle who's coming and is going to help me get straight.
Correct.
How much money did you give her in February?
Again, it was not an overnight situation. Okay.
How much money did you give her in February?
It was a little over $220, somewhere right.
Okay, so that's what she owes you.
She owes me that, and also for her insurance. I paid her insurance for it.
How much was that?
$50.
What's next?
Well, basically what happened is that her birthday was in March, 2nd of March, and I called her. She is trying to make this into a relationship gone bad. It is not a relationship gone bad. She made a verbal promise to me, and that's all that matters. I did buy her something for her birthday. I bought her a necklace that said Friends on it. Okay, I since took it back to Walmart. But, okay, but the
Quiet,
situation
please.
is that she is very, very good about manipulating somebody's feelings to make you think that you are her friend.
Well, that's what she did to you, sir.
That's exactly what she did to me.
No, I did not.
Who do you live with?
I'm living with my ex, which is my baby's father.
How old is your baby?
2.
Do you have only one child?
No, I have 3.
Where are the other 2?
They're living with me.
Did you ever go out with Mr. Livingston and your 3 children?
Well, he came over to my son's birthday party.
And when did the father of your youngest child come back into the picture?
Well, I was living with him at the time, and he was my friend, and he came over to the birthday party.
So you were living with your boyfriend?
Well, he's my ex. I've been separated for like a year and a half.
Did you know that he was living there, Mr. Livingston?
Yes, I did.
Did you know who he was?
Yes, I did. And what I asked her is, I said, I have never in my life heard a situation to where a girlfriend and boyfriend break up and they're living together. Why is he living there, Kim? She says, because if I don't let him live there, he is not going to let me see my child. He's going to withhold my child from me. Your Honor, I come from a situation to where my ex held my children from me, and I was sensitive to that. Okay?
Mr. Livingston.
Yes, ma'am.
It sounds to me you were a little bit smitten with the defendant, because otherwise you wouldn't have even asked that question, right? So it sounds to me as if
that is not true, Your Honor. She was trying to better her life, and she could not better her life when he wasn't working, he wasn't paying for groceries, he wasn't doing anything but sucking her dry.
Mr. Livingston, if you want to be a benevolent guy, and if you want to be a mentor, there are kids there in the Boys and Girls Club that you can mentor.
I understand.
You were mentoring Miss Goebel because you were smitten with her.
No, ma'am, that's not true.
Yeah, well, I don't believe that for a second. I don't believe that for a second, sir.
I also got a call from her ex, and he basically said, what kind of trouble do you want with me? And I said, you know what, this is none of your business. If you call here again, I'm going to file suit on you. He called right back, and he said, the disciples are going to be after you.
Mr.
Okay?
Livingston.
So,
all very interesting, sir.
thank you, Your Honor.
Fascinating. Can I see the card that you are dying to show me, Bird? Would you get that card for me, please?
Sure.
May I explain that card, Your Honor?
Yes.
Your Honor, this card was...
Yes, now you can explain this love card.
Thank you, Your Honor. She had asked me a lot of times to fix her car. I said I could not financially do it. When I could finally do it, I said, is he leaving tomorrow? And she said, yes. I said, well, that would be a better environment, because I didn't like the guy. I didn't like him around. He was an idiot. He was aggressive, everything else. So anyway, so I felt better working by myself without having him around. Not because I was closer to her, but because it was a better environment for me. Because he's a violent
Get to the card, Mr. Livingston.
Yes, ma'am. So she calls me and says, I want a relationship with you. I said, what are you talking about? You know, that's quote, end quote. I want a relationship with you, Dave. And I said, you know what, you don't have to do this, Kim. I'm your friend. I'm going to fix your car regardless. You don't have to say that. So I was out of town for 2 days. I got her that birthday present, that $40 friendship necklace. And when I came back, all of a sudden, I mean, this was really weird. I called her.
Could you give me the
Yes.
Get to the card,
I'm going to
Mr.
get to the card.
Livingston. It says, I love
I
you.
bought her the
always
card
wanna be
because
with you.
when I got back from out of town, we had a fight. Because, now understand, I had spent 2 nights over there. You said that I was interested in her. I spent 2 nights over there, and I didn't lay a hand on her, okay? The card was given to her because there was an interest there, okay? But
Mr. Livingston.
Yes. Yes, Your Honor.
I'm getting older by the second, sir. Listen to me very carefully, Mr. Livingston.
Yes, Your Honor.
The fact that she said to you, I want a relationship with you, doesn't answer the question. I said to you, were you smitten with her? You said no.
I was not
But
smitten.
I'm speaking.
Yes,
You
Your
said no. You said I cared about her because she was a human being, and people helped me when I was trying to turn my life around, and I was trying to help her. It had nothing to do with a romantic feeling. So the fact that, listen to me very carefully, try to put on your listening ears.
Yes, ma'am.
The fact that she says to you, I want a relationship with you, your response is, Kim, I don't feel that way about you. I want to be your friend and help you because I'm a human being, and from one human being to another, I have no romantic interest in you at all. The fact that she said to you, I want a relationship with you, doesn't mean you send her a love letter. Unless you are smitten with her, Mr. Livingston. Now, you can talk until you're blue in the face, until I'm tall and you're short, but that's the truth of the matter.
Then, Your Honor,
No! Cross it off. If you're looking for a mate, sir, she is not it. Put a period. It's over. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Very well.
Your Honor, I
Goodbye.
can recover.
Good luck. Have a happy life. Cross it off. It's money down the sewer. It's over. Goodbye. Not alone.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I did ask her several times, what do you see in your future, you know? And you know what? She says, I want to be friends.
He's asked me a few times if I want a relationship, and I kept telling him no.
If she changed her mind, I left it up to her.
We were friends, and, you know, I tried to show him that I was a friend.
I did it for her out of the goodness of my heart, and I guess I won't do that anymore.
I invited him over to my son's birthday party, and, you know, we talked.
People were there for me when I was down and out. I thought I was returning the favor. You know, I guess the lesson learned.
I'm not getting on the computer ever again.
Lisa Pelisek says former live-in boyfriend Franz Zygmuntovich owes for several items she purchased for his home.
Ms. Pelisek, the defendant and you were involved in a relationship. You lived together in his home for a period of time. You claim that while you were there, you purchased some furniture for the home, put it on your credit card. The relationship didn't work out. You moved out. He kept the furniture. You're paying the bill. You want that credit card paid. Now, you have the furniture, right?
Yes.
And you're not paying the bill.
I did pay some of it.
But you're not paying it now.
No.
And you say that's all right because?
Well, Your Honor, there's a lot more to it than just the furniture issue.
You're also counterclaiming because you say she owes you for half the mortgage payment while she was living there.
Yes.
That's a lot of baloney.
No, Your Honor. The way this all began was last year. My sister had reintroduced us at a birthday party I had. My sister.
I don't need all that information, sir.
We got together. She was married at the time. All of a sudden, she decides she's not happy with him. She wants to get out. Originally, we were looking for a place for her to live somewhere nearby me. At the time, she called me and says, you know what, why don't I just move in with you? I'll stay there. That's all good. She moves in, proceeds that she wants to get this, get that, get this, get that. Well, I already had my house established. I've been living there for over a year, almost 2 years. I had all this stuff purchased for my home. She didn't like the bedroom set. She went and sold that, kept the money on that, bought a new bedroom set. She wanted blinds,
just
stuff.
Just a second. Let's get over this counterclaim first, because when I said that's a lot of baloney, I meant that's a lot of baloney. Because nowhere in your discussion with me, sir, did you say that when she moved in, she agreed to pay half your mortgage.
Oh, I forgot to mention it.
Listen, if you start out with a fib, I don't believe what you say.
Well,
do you understand?
I didn't give you the whole. You didn't let me finish.
Go ahead.
Okay. Part of the thing was she was getting money from her husband, plus unemployment. She said she was going to help me out with stuff. I was also buying on my credit card items, tickets, concerts.
I'm talking about rent. Let's get rid of the rent.
Okay.
You have a counterclaim for rent.
Yes.
I said to you that was a lot of baloney. You want to address the rent, sir.
Okay.
So far I've heard she was getting alimony from her husband. She was getting unemployment. She said she would help you out.
Well, part of the deal was she...
No, look at me.
Okay. Part of the deal was she was getting money. She said she was looking for a job and was going to help me out. If she's suing me for everything, then she never helped me out with anything.
That's not a contract to pay half your mortgage.
I never made a contract to pay her credit card
Just
either.
a second. I'm talking about your counterclaim, sir.
Okay.
In order to have a landlord-tenant relationship, which is what you are suggesting to me, because that's what it was. You may have shared it. Don't look so unhappy, please. Don't give me the sad-looking face. It doesn't impress me at all. Okay, so, you know, put the smile on the face, or just, but this sad face doesn't go far. I have no heart. Do you understand? Perfect. When you form a landlord and tenant relationship, even with somebody with whom you are sharing a bed, there has to be an agreement to pay a finite amount, so much per month, first of each month.
Okay.
There was never any agreement for that.
Yes.
Now, I knew that when I read your papers.
Okay.
You were trying to convince me there was. All I'm saying to you is, I don't believe that there was ever any agreement to have a landlord and tenant relationship with the plaintiff.
No.
So your counterclaim's dismissed.
Okay.
If, however, what you're telling... Get the sad face off, please. If what you're telling me is that when she moved in with you and you were sharing a home, your bedroom, sharing your bed, she said, I don't like this bedroom set. I want to get a different one. So she got rid of the old one.
Yes.
And she purchased a new one.
Yes.
And she kept the money from the one that she sold.
Yes.
Wouldn't you have been smarter to say to me at the beginning, no, we didn't have an agreement as far as rent is concerned? Because now I tend to doubt that, that she sold the bedroom set and kept the money. Is she going to tell me she kept the money?
If she's not lying.
Let's see. Did you keep the money when you sold the bedroom set?
I applied it to the Discover credit card. It was $450, and I made the payment on my credit card.
Now, why did you get a new bedroom set? Now, look at me.
Okay.
Why did
I just did not like the looks of the old one.
You
and
didn't.
We were planning on going to get married, and I was going to live there the rest of my life. He told me that I can...
You bought him a present, a new bedroom set.
He told me
Forget
I
it.
could decorate his house any way I want, and it's not a problem, and he would pay any charges that I put on my credit card that went toward the house.
Really? And what were you paying? Don't look confused. It's a very easy question. You weren't paying any rent.
Right, nothing.
He was providing you with a roof over your head, telephone, gas, electric, water, all that other stuff. My question to you, madam, is your husband was supporting you, which must have irritated the hell out of him, because here he's supporting you and you're living with somebody else. And you were getting unemployment. What were you doing with your money?
I was just paying off my bills that I currently had. I had some credit cards and just miscellaneous bills, and whenever I took the children out to do activities.
Whose children?
I have a son, Zachary, and he has a daughter, Savannah, and we would just go out and do things with that money.
Okay, so you bought a bedroom set on your credit card. You kept the money from the bedroom set that you sold. What else did you buy?
There were just many, many household items, new kitchen sinks. There were shower curtains, shower rugs, window blinds, just miscellaneous home items, shelving units for the basement. But it all just really added up.
And over what period of time did you purchase these things?
From the time I actually officially moved in, which was July 16th, until September 15th.
Exclusive of the bedroom set, how much did you spend?
Exclusive of that, around $3,000.
And how much did you pay towards the expenses of the house?
Nothing.
Consider it rent. You live there with a child?
Yes.
You think you can get a place to live with your child for $1,000 a month?
No.
Including gas, electric, telephone, whatever other expenses there are? You can't. Just out of curiosity. Right. Why did you leave?
There were problems in the relationship that had developed.
I ran out of money is what it was, Your Honor.
Yeah.
Once I said I had no more... Once I had no more money, she decided to go off on her own. When I wouldn't give her cash, and she said, this isn't working out, I need to leave, and went back to her husband.
Is that where you are now?
Yes.
Oh, you have to pay this credit card, madam. It's your responsibility. You went out, you decorated. I can view this as your capital contribution to your own living expenses, yours and your child's, while you were living together. It's not unreasonable for him to assume that if you went out and bought shower curtains and some rugs for the bathroom, that you intended to do that because you were living there with your child, and that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to contribute. You're a grown-up lady. He's not supposed to take care of you. You're supposed to take care of yourself. Case is dismissed, as is your counterclaim, sir.
Thank you.
Each other, but we're involved in an incident that can be described as a road rage incident. It is your claim that Mr. Azure caused this accident, which damaged your car. He says it was you who caused the accident. He said that you hit him in the rear. He is counterclaiming because he alleges that because of your conduct, he was forced to drop out of school, to have his education delayed, and he has a counterclaim. When did this incident happen, Ms. Pincher?
February 3rd, 2005.
What time of the day or evening?
Approximately 10:30 in the morning.
And where were you going?
I was on my way to work.
Where do you work?
Sacred Heart Medical Building.
What kind of a car were you driving?
Honda Civic, 97.
What kind of car were you driving?
I was driving a 87 Toyota Corolla.
Where were you going?
I was going home. I was leaving school.
You had been in school that morning?
Yeah, I just got out at 10:20, and I was on my way home.
Okay, so Ms. Pincher, you tell me your version of what happened, please.
I was driving westbound on Mission.
Show me on your diagram, please.
This is
Which
me
color
here.
are you?
I'm B.
You're blue.
Yes. As I'm driving here, there's a bus that's moving. He pulls out from behind the bus and cuts me off right here. So I went into this turn lane to avoid the accident. I'm attempting to get back over, but he's not letting me. So at this point, after I honked my horn, he then let me in, which as I came here, and he was a bit further down here, this is where we hit because he was driving erratically, and he slammed on his brakes. And to avoid hitting him again, I turned this way, and that's how the damage occurred on that side of the car.
Okay, so what you're saying is he cut you off.
Yes.
You had to get back into a driving lane.
Yes.
Ultimately, he let you back in the driving lane, but then slammed on his brakes, causing you to swerve.
Yes.
And that's how the back of his car and the front of your car were damaged.
Correct.
Okay, fine. I will hear you.
Okay, it started with the bus stop. There was actually another car in front of me The first car proceeded to go around the bus, made it around. I looked, there was nobody behind me. I proceeded into this lane. I was all the way up here, and all of a sudden I heard a series of honking. She was in a hurry to get somewhere, and I just wasn't going fast enough for her. I looked into my rearview mirror. She's on the cell phone, driving, honking her horn, and then she proceeds to go on my driver's side to pass me. She must have thought that was another lane, because it widens out there for about 50 feet, and then it closes out real quick, and it goes right back into the 2 lanes. And she proceeded to pass me, Your Honor, and she was all the way up as far as my back door on my driver's side. And as soon as I seen that, I started to slow down to let her proceed so she could proceed to pass, but she couldn't do it because there's oncoming traffic coming. So then she stopped to try to swing back around to get back behind me. And I feel that it was all her fault. She was on the cell phone. If she wasn't talking on that cell phone, maybe she could have used that other hand to flip the blinker and switch into the lane that was completely open.
Okay. Now, you had some damage to your car?
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of damage did you have to your car?
Do you want to see pictures? Mm-hmm. I have 2 different estimates. The pictures are on the back of each page of the estimate.
What happened when the police arrived?
One officer talked to me, and I told him the story, and basically he wrote out the report, and that was it. He said that he attempted to contact my witness.
Do you have a police report?
Yes, I do.
Can I see it, please? You were cited for an improper lane usage.
I didn't commit it. It was found non-committed.
Did you have a hearing with regard to that?
Yes, with extenuating circumstances. My witness was there to attend as well.
What is your name, sir?
Sonny Shaver.
Stand up, please. Do you know the plaintiff?
I never met her till that day.
You were driving on the 3rd of February?
I was the oncoming traffic, Your Honor.
Show me where your car was.
I was here. This island stops and, like he said, becomes 2 double yellow lines that narrow down back to a 4-lane street. When I saw him, she was behind him. He went about halfway into this lane with half his car. Then all of a sudden he came back and she dived to the left to avoid him. And I thought, going to get hit head on here. She slammed on the brakes then and cut it to the left. He cut it to the left across the double yellow line and stopped, and she hit him. So I drove around the block and said, I'll be a witness for you.
And you gave her your name?
Gave her my business card.
And you did come down with her to testify on her behalf?
Yes, ma'am.
It was very nice of you.
Well, I saw she rear-ended him, and that's almost always automatically her fault, and I felt it wasn't, so.
And you and Miss Pinchuk didn't know each other?
No, ma'am.
That's totally false. I had no reason to turn. I was a mile down my road. She was reckless driving. I was trying to avoid her.
Well, I'm looking at you, Mr. Azure, because Mr. Shaver doesn't know the plaintiff, right?
I can't tell you.
And when you stopped, did you see Mr. Shaver there that day?
No, he was not there.
Did you see him?
He was yelling at me, some foul things.
No.
Really?
Yes, ma'am.
Nope. He told me, you can't frickin' stop in the middle of the road. And
So,
like,
just a second, Mr. Azure. Mr. Azure. Shh. Mr. Azure, you just said you didn't see him there that day.
Well,
how could you tell me that you didn't see him there that day, and then 2 seconds later tell me what he was yelling at you?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I do not believe that it was him. There was a guy there.
Listen to me. That was him. He
Was
didn't
it?
Yeah, it was him.
No, there was a guy that didn't want to wait
Listen
for
to
the
me.
police officer.
Listen to me. It was him.
And later today,
He didn't steal the car keys. He didn't grab them out of her pocket. She was drunk. He was drunk. They're just lucky they're not dead.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Bobby Pinchuk says fellow motorist Charles Azure owes for an accident caused by his reckless driving. Charles claims the accident was Bobby's fault.
All right. Now let's get to your counterclaim, Mr. Azure. I'll hear you.
There was a blonde-haired gentleman. I do not believe that it was him. There was a guy there.
Listen to me. That was him. He
Was
didn't
it?
say, yeah, it was him.
No, there was a guy that didn't want to wait
Listen
for
to
the
me.
police officers.
Listen to me.
And he took off.
Listen to me. It was him. Let's just get to your counterclaim, sir.
Okay. After this accident, I just had surgery on my knee, and I'm in criminal justice at the Spokane Community College. I have no reason to jeopardize my career. My knee went into the dashboard, and it swelled up my knee. I got the doctor report, and I took it to my instructors at school, and they put me on hold They ended up giving me a Z grade.
What does that have to do with this accident?
Because my knee swollen, because I got injured in there and I couldn't pursue my criminal justice. They put me on hold. They said I had to get doctors. I can't get released from the doctors. I've had 4 surgeries on my knee, Your Honor, and...
Did you have any surgeries on your knee after this incident, sir?
No, I had it August 29th, 04.
The last one was
The last one was 10/29/04.
Okay. Well,
Just like 4 months prior to this accident.
Maybe you're pursuing the wrong career, sir.
I'm not going as a police officer. We're opening a bail bonds company, and we're going to pursue that.
You're going to be a bail bondsman?
Yes, ma'am.
Very good. All right, Mr. Asher. Are you going back to school for criminal
They let me
justice?
back in. I just had my appointment with the dean on May 5th, and they said I can go back in
I'm very
in September.
glad. Okay. Who is this person?
This is my wife, Joni.
What does she have to do with this case?
She's the one that took me to the hospital, saw my knee, how it swelled. I had to be in a neck brace. I had to wear my splint again. I had to use crutches.
Just my own information, sir. Did you speak to an attorney about these injuries?
Yes, I did.
And did the attorney take your case against
No,
Ms.
he didn't.
Pinchuk?
Because he said I had a pre-existing knee injury.
That plus a couple of other things, Mr. Asher. One of the things that would be death to your case is this gentleman right over here. Because he's known as an independent witness. He is absolutely correct when he says that when someone rear-ends someone else in their car, unless there are really extenuating circumstances, it's always your fault. Those are the facts. You understand that, Mr. Asher?
Yes, her insurance...
Unless, Mr. Asher, you have an independent witness who says that you were driving recklessly. That's what he says. And he's got no axe to grind. He took a couple of days off from work. He actually came back to a scene of an accident where most people would just keep going.
I never seen him, Your Honor.
Well, maybe you just heard him. And there is no question in my... Listen to me, I'm speaking.
Okay.
There's no question in my mind that he was there. There's no question in my mind that he chose to come back to the scene of the accident because he was concerned that Miss Pinchuk would be blamed for the accident because it was a rear-end hit. He took the time after she contacted him to go down and testify before the administrative law judge at the hearing regarding the ticket. The ticket was dismissed, as is your counterclaim, sir. Judgment for the plaintiff for the amount of damage to the car, $1,400. Thank you very much. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She found that I was at fault, but I just don't feel that I was.
It was his fault. He knows it was his fault, and that's what he gets for trying to lie.
She was totally out of control, calling me every name in the book.
At the point where he realized that I was cussing him out and I was honking my horn, I need to get back over, that's when he got mad.
On her cell phone, driving right behind me, she was so close to my bumper, I could see the whites of her eyes.
20-year-old physical therapy technician Levita Richter is suing her former friend, 21-year-old caregiver Adriana Falk, for bail money, a loan to get her car fixed, and the cost of a bridesmaid's dress.
Miss Richter, you and the defendant had been friends, according to the complaint that I read.
Yes, Your Honor.
And there was a point when she was in some difficulty. Did she come to live with you at that point?
Yes, she did, Your Honor.
When was that?
About October.
October of 2004?
Yes.
Who were you living with?
My fiancé.
Who's now your husband?
Yes.
Is that him?
No.
Who was this?
This is my witness.
According to you, there are 2 loans outstanding. And in addition to the 2 loans, you claim that Miss Falk owes you for this bridesmaid's dress. I assume that this is the bridesmaid's dress. She was an attendant at your wedding. They were supposed to pay for their own dresses. You claim she did not pay for hers.
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Falk says that both of those times when you gave her the money, it was a gift, and the bridesmaid's dress she says she paid for even though you still have it.
Yes, ma'am.
Why did you go to live with Miss Richter and her fiancé, Miss Falk?
I was having some problems with my mother and needed to get out of the situation that I was in.
And when was the first time that she gave you money?
When this guy right over here got me into trouble at my employment, I was taken to jail because of him and his roommates and what they had asked me to do for them. And
well, why don't you explain that to me further?
Okay, I was working at Colusa Casino in Colusa County. And
where is that?
Part of Northern California.
Go ahead.
Me and Mr. Weiser had started dating, and him and his roommates knew obviously that I worked at a casino and asked me if I could possibly give them players cards with instant rewards on them, which is like a credit, and they can go in the casino and play. Well, I told them a number of times I didn't want to do it. I didn't feel comfortable doing it. Now I'm being charged for all 4 of those gentlemen. and what they asked me to do.
Just a second. So they asked you to get them these cards, and you said no. So how could you be charged with anything?
Because I did it anyways.
Oh, so you did it. You did something illegal.
Yes, ma'am.
Levita Richter says former friend Adriana Falk owes for bail money, a loan to have her car fixed, and the cost of a bridesmaid's dress.
Explain to me how you did something illegal.
I would go in and add the instant rewards to their cards. That gentleman right there would come in and play his, not only, and all four of his.
I don't
roommates'
understand the
cards.
instant rewards. What does that mean?
It's just like a credit you can go in and play on slot machines. You can't cash it out. The only thing you cash out is what you win, but you cannot cash out anything on that card.
But you can play with it.
Yeah.
And you knew you were doing, in effect, you were stealing from the casino.
Yes, ma'am.
Hmm?
Yes, ma'am.
Nobody forces you to steal, madam. That's
Well,
not
this
anybody.
gentleman here did.
No, he didn't. No, Miss Falk. That's not true. If I asked Bird to falsify a document for me, and I've known him for a very long time, 25 years?
At least.
At least. I guarantee you he would not do it for me. And he likes me. And if I asked somebody that I cared about to do something illegal, I would not be angry if they said, no, that's illegal.
Well, they were when I said no.
So then what you say to somebody who's asking you to do something wrong is, I'm sorry, you can be angry, and if you want to not see me anymore, you don't see me anymore. If you want to not be my friend, you don't want to be my boyfriend, whatever it is. But you don't blame somebody else for you're doing something criminal.
There are charges pending on them, but I don't know what they are yet.
Are there charges pending against you?
Yes, there is.
For what?
For second-degree burglary, and it's burglary in the second degree, and then the grand theft as well.
Oh, well, I'm not going to ask you any questions about that because those matters are pending. I'm sorry. You represented by an attorney with regard to that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Stupid. Anyway, you got into trouble and she bailed you out?
Yeah. He was on his way home, and he called her and asked her to bail me out of jail.
Who asked her?
I had called Mr. Weiser and told him that I was in jail because he knew that I was going to meet with the security officers at the casino that morning. Then I ended up being arrested after about an hour or two of questioning. I was taken into custody and arrested, and I called him. He was the first person that I was able to call, and he called her and asked her to bail me out.
That's not true, Your Honor.
Who called?
The bail bond gentleman called me at work.
Oh, but she didn't call you.
I spoke to her, and she asked me to come bail her out.
When? You said the bail bondsman called.
I talked to her after the bail bonds gentleman called, and I was allowed to talk to her. And she was crying. She said, please come get me out of this place.
You went there and you bailed her out?
Yes.
What arrangements did you make for her to pay you back?
She was to pay me back. She had promised me that she would pay me back because that's just, I wasn't just going to give it to her. I was getting married in a few months, and I didn't have that money to spare.
Well, I want to know what conversation did you have with her with regard to paying you back?
She just
Don't tell me what she understood.
She
Ms.
just
Richter.
said, you know, I promise that I'll pay you back. I thank you for bailing me out.
When did she say that to you?
In front of the bail bond gentleman, when we were signing these papers.
Let me see the papers. Okay, what was the next amount of money?
It was the $500 that I loaned her to have her car fixed.
Okay, let me hear.
She was driving a Geo Metro. It needed some repairs. It was $1,000. They have it fixed. Matt was my witness. He was going to pay half, and I was going to pay the other half. I wrote him a check. He deposited it into his bank account, and he
well,
used
just a
his credit
second.
card.
Why were you going to pay half? I don't hear what.
She didn't have the money to pay it, and it needed to be fixed, or else she wouldn't be able to drive back and forth to work.
Well, when did you have that discussion with her, Miss Richter?
It was
on the phone while I was at Winco.
It was not on the phone. She was in my...
Just a minute. Where was it?
I was at Winco with Mr. Weiser at the time, and she called me and told me that her and her husband now were going to loan me the $500.
No, just a second. She said she and her husband were going to loan you the $500. Perfect. And she did. So why don't you have to pay her back?
She had me arrested.
What did she have you arrested for?
Charges on credit card fraud.
And that's another thing that's pending against you? I don't want to hear about it. So she's alleging that you took money from her credit cards. And she called and had you arrested. Sounds right to me. $815 so far. Now let's hear about the bridesmaid's dress.
Bridesmaid's dress, I was get married March. She was my maid of honor. I have a list of the other two ladies that were my bridesmaids. They knew they were all to pay for the dress. If they did not pay for the dress, they were to not be in the wedding. Being she was my supposed best friend living with me, I assumed that she would pay me back for it.
Don't assume anything.
That's my fault.
That's your fault is right. It's a very nice dress. I hope you can wear it. You don't assume anything. After she didn't have $315, which she didn't give you back for the bail bondsman, and $500 she didn't have for her car, really $1,000 she didn't have for her car, how you could legitimately expect her to pay for a dress, expect her to pay for a dress, is something I quite frankly don't understand. So it looks like a very nice dress. It's yours. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $815. Thanks. That's all.
Step out.
She lies and she didn't want to pay me back.
That's the way she is. She's an addictive, so it's fine.
Stabbing in the back is stealing somebody's ATM cards and her husband's museum.
I really don't care. I think it's funny and it's asinine, and she'll get what's coming to her afterwards.
I'm not friends with criminals. They go to jail.
Yes, Your Honor.
Is this the first time you've ever done that with a girlfriend?
Yes, we were engaged to be married.
Did you get the ring back?
No, she kept it.
Where's the ring?
She took it.
Where's the
I
ring?
have it with me, Your Honor.
Good. Can I have it, please? Very lovely. You don't want this engagement ring, do you? Perfect.
No, I don't.
And Mr. Fragano, you do want it back, I assume?
Yes.
Yeah, she doesn't want it. And you want it back. And you should have it back. Because we're going to resolve everything so the two of you can go your own separate ways.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Okay? Perfect. See how fair I am? See how fair I am?
I appreciate it very much.
That's it. Don't get used to it. Yeah. Mr. Fragano.
Thank you, sir.
I'm a very orderly person. We want to deal with one thing at a time.
Okay.
The first thing that you want is some money, because you claim that Miss Peterson sold some items of yours, I don't know, baseball cards, videos, whatever they were.
Video game collection.
On eBay.
Yes.
A system that I wholly do not understand. Nor do I want to understand it at my stage in life. Miss Peterson acknowledges that she sold these things for you on eBay because she knew how to do it, and she acknowledges she has some money that she's holding that belongs to you, right?
Right.
How much money are you holding from the sale of the items on eBay?
It's like $630.
Okay, so far you have $630 on your team and the engagement ring. Then you say that there is a computer.
Yes, an Alienware laptop.
Which Miss Peterson says she does not have, correct?
Correct.
And you've never had it in your possession?
No, I have not.
So you purchased a computer online?
Yes.
And tell me what happened, sir, why you think she's responsible for this computer.
I sold my video game collection laptop, also for extra money for her birthday on November 2nd. I purchased a laptop from the seller on eBay. I transferred $645 from my account into hers to pay for the item, and I have not received the item because of her. She waited out on the 23rd, I do believe, of October for the laptop. I went there with my father. I had my evidence, which I had already showed to the postmaster. He said there's nothing he can do. It has to go to the address. So I went to the mail lady. They looked at my evidence. They said just bring it right back to the post office. Do not even let her know that it's in the mail truck. She yelled at my father, don't touch my mail. She saw the laptop in the truck, tried to get it. Her girlfriend was there as well with the kids. I called the cops. I have a police report on that as well. The laptop went back. She tried to claim it. She does not have valid ID for Jennifer Fragano.
But it went back.
It went back to the seller, yes, and I did contact him, and he told me over the phone that I was a sick SOB.
Then you have to sue him, because he's got the laptop back. And
well,
your money.
He told me that he was sending it back to her.
But she doesn't have it, and I believe her. And you've never had it in your possession.
I have not.
Nor has anyone in your family.
No.
Okay, so he hasn't sent it back, and the seller has $645 of your money.
Yes.
Well, that's intolerable. So you have to sue him?
Can't contact him. I got him once. I sent him multiple emails. He never responded once. And I have proof of them corresponding. He made his sale private, and she made it private as well. So they're corresponding together, working together, and I know that well, I don't know for a fact that she has a laptop, but I do have tracking confirms up until the point where he received it.
But then you saw that she didn't get it.
Well, no. If he remailed it, it wouldn't be track and confirm no more. It would be under a
I
different
guarantee
label.
he didn't remail it. You know how to reach him?
Yes.
Okay. Because you have a counterclaim, so this is what we're going to do. All this is very unfortunate. Probably the seller who sold the computer. And when was that? In what month?
The sale of the laptop was on... Hold on. Wow, I had everything so organized. Now I'm on
October. Oh, so it's recent.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so I'm going to entertain your counterclaim. Everything that you may get a judgment for in your counterclaim is going to be stayed until you contact the owner of the computer and have the owner of the computer send the computer to you. What?
He said he'll ship it as long as somebody pays for the shipping again.
Okay.
So
I had already agreed
he
to
wants
do
to
that.
contact him.
So he's going to pay for the shipping again.
Okay.
But you're going to get the computer. You're going to get nothing on your counterclaim until he has the computer in his possession. Do
Okay.
you understand?
Yes.
Is that reasonable?
Yes.
Perfect. Is that satisfactory, sir?
Yes.
Good. Now, Ms. Peterson, we're going to your counterclaim. So now you have money and you have your computer. Other than doing what I've told her to do, she can't get the computer from this guy if he's not going to send it. But she's going to try very hard because she's going to tell me what she wants from you, some of which I think she's entitled to, and she's not going to get it until you have your computer. So she's going to work real hard to see to it that you get your computer. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, your counterclaim, Ms. Peterson, says that the two of you did a ridiculous thing. You purchased this car. You used a car of yours as a trade-in.
Yes.
Down payment for a car that the two of you were using together.
Yes.
Your Honor, I have a Sebring convertible, which is mine. I have purchased her 3 cars, a Jeep Wrangler.
We're not talking about any
Pontiac
3
Grand
cars.
Am.
We're talking about the car that was used.
Right, I purchased that. I have evidence that I purchased it.
No question. You purchased it. You're telling me that you used a car that was yours.
Yes.
For a down payment on that car.
Yes.
Which car did you use as a down payment?
1989 Pontiac Grand Am.
Was that car traded in, sir?
Yes, we both signed off on it.
We?
Was that car in both your names?
No, only in her name.
So it was her car. And that car was used as a down payment on the car that you currently have. And that was done in what month and year?
July of 07.
And the two of you separated in when?
October.
And how much did you receive as a credit for her car?
$500.
Is that right?
Yes.
And then when you separated, you took the car?
She took it at first to her parents' house and then took it to work. And I made a police report and then went and retrieved the car.
What year car is your Sebring?
The Monte Carlo is the one that I had bought for her. It's a 2001 Monte Carlo.
When you say you bought the 2001 Monte Carlo for her, was it a gift?
No.
What was it?
Well, she drove my Sebring into a flooded area, and her car was acting up, and I didn't want to put any more repairs into it. So I said, let's get a new car, and I will put you on there as well so that you can pay the insurance, and it would be registered to you. She never once made an insurance payment. Her insurance lapsed. I had to put it in my name, the insurance, and I paid everything.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Who did you return the car seats to?
I dropped them off by all of my belongings that were covered in used kitty litter.
You didn't return it.
I did.
You know, you didn't.
I dropped it there.
Sorry.
I left it there for her.
Don't buy it.
And later today,
He's a perfect angel in her eyes.
He doesn't look like an angel.
He's my angel.
Maybe your angel, but he doesn't look like an angel.
Pay for everything.
I understand that.
You know.
You don't get.
They get away with it, and
Listen.
it bothers me.
Eddie, listen, Mr. Fragano. Sometimes that stuff happens.
I understand that.
Usually happens where the girl is standing on that side and the guy is standing on this side. Every once in a while it happens the other way around. But she gets back the $500 as soon as you get the what?
The laptop.
The laptop, correct. Now, there's another part of your lawsuit, and that is when he came and took the car back from you.
Yes.
You had personal property in the car.
Yes.
I want you to tell me what personal property you had in the car.
It was some belongings of my children. It's a Barbie Magnadoodle. It's one of those little drawing boards for kids to play with.
Who cares? Go ahead. What else?
I have receipts for that. I have receipts for car seats that belong to my children.
Okay. You have 2 children seats in the car?
Yes, I returned everything on Sunday. Sunday
Which
evening,
Sunday?
after they called the cops on me and her mother told the police outrageous accusations about
Just
me.
a second. Who did you return the car seats to?
I brought them to South Locust Avenue, and I dropped them off by all of my belongings that were covered in used kitty litter. And
Shh. Did you bring them into the house?
I couldn't. I wasn't allowed on the property.
So what did you do? You just threw them on the property?
I placed them by the tree, and I told Alba that they were there, the previous landlord.
All you had to do was bring them to the police station. Mr.
I was
Fragano.
escorted off the property
Mr.
by the
Fragano, don't play with me, sir. You don't throw it by a tree along with your property that was covered in kitty litter and then say, I returned it. You didn't return it.
I did.
No, you didn't.
I dropped it there.
Sorry.
I left it there for her.
Sorry. Don't buy it.
And it was only 2 car seats, 1 medical bill from Stony Brook, and a couple of toys that they used my Target card to purchase as well.
I don't care whether they used your Target card to purchase it at all. The most important thing were the car seats, and you have to replace those because you didn't return them. If you took them to the police precinct and said, listen, I'm dropping them off at the police precinct, you can go and pick them up there, that's one thing. What you did was vicious. You don't get credit for that. So you're going to pay $100 for each of the car seats.
They were only $30 each.
Really? How do you know that?
Because I purchased the one, and the other one was the exact same one as the one I purchased. And it was $30
You have
from
bills
Target.
for the car seats?
Not with me, Your Honor. I can't find them. They were
in my Target.
within a year and a
on my
half.
Target card.
I've had the car seats.
How old are your children?
3 and 4.
And I've been dad for the past 2 years.
Okay.
The last day of them screaming, I want my daddy.
You get $50 each for the car seats. Go out and buy new car seats for your children if they still need them. So
Her
far,
girlfriend already purchased
I'm
the ones.
speaking.
I'm sorry, Your Honor.
Because that'll cover the toys that were in there as well. So that means that he owes you $600, which I'm holding until he gets his laptop. Do you understand?
Yes.
Now you have your ring back. You have your money back. You're going to get your PC back. You have your down payment back, and you have the value of the property that was in the car when he took it back. Correct?
Yes.
Okay, now you don't like each other anymore? You don't have children together? There is absolutely no reason for you to be involved with each other? Right?
That is correct, Your Honor.
Go by,
I
have a happy
appreciate it.
life, go separately, and stay separate.
You
That's
don't want to hear
all.
none of the drama?
No, I don't want to hear any drama. I don't like drama. I make my own drama.
I understand, Your Honor.
Parties are excused, you may step out.
I took care of her kids for 2 years.
I have 2 small children. Yes, he's not the father of them, and he took on that role.
He's bad news.
Her mom making allegations
He assaulted me back in December.
that I was sexually abusing the kids, physically abusing the kids, abusing her physically.
He assaulted my granddaughter.
Spanking, you know, is child abuse, and he spanked my youngest. She's 3.
It's outrageous.
She had a handprint on her butt for 3 weeks.
I don't like him.
Her ex was living at her parents' house for the past year.
He has no relationship with Jenny. He has a girlfriend.
She went there for a whole week. I didn't know he was there.
They have not been together since the youngest child.
2 different lives.
Stay away from freaks like
Chris Laxon is suing her ex-husband, Henry Laxon, for vet bills he promised to pay when his cat Toes became ill. Henry says he wanted the cat euthanized.
Oh, Mr. and Mrs. Laxon. You mean you couldn't work this out? You had to come here?
Yes.
You 2 folks have been divorced for how long?
About 7 years.
And from what I read in the complaint and the answer, you have children together?
Yes. Yes.
You have shared custody of the children?
Yes.
That seems to work out fine.
Yes.
Perfect.
Testament to your parenting and your ability to put the children's needs over your own.
Thank you.
So far, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Case is about the cat.
Yes.
Mr. Laxon, you had a cat for the children. How many children do you have?
I have 2 children, Your Honor.
How old are they?
Jonathan is 9 and Brittany is 8.
So 2 little kids. And I understand from the papers that they had a cat previously that died.
Yes, Your Honor.
When did that cat die?
Well, that cat died probably not too long before this one did, probably about February. We got it from the neighbor downstairs. Unfortunately, it had been through some traumatic experiences previous to that. So it was just a matter of probably when, because the kid they were watching it actually drowned it, and they brought it back to life.
So it died in February.
Yes.
And you got another cat.
Yes.
That cat's name is?
This one's now named as Sugar.
And where did you get Sugar from?
We got her from the local pet shop.
When?
I would say about 2 to 3 months ago.
And then that cat got sick. Sugar got sick.
No, Sugar did not get sick, Your Honor. The one that got sick was actually Toes.
So that was a third cat.
Okay. Well,
Was
actually,
that a third cat? That was a third cat. So first you got one from a neighbor in February. That one died.
that is correct.
Then you got Sugar from a pet shop.
That was just recently.
I'm talking about the cat, sir, that is the subject of this case.
I understand, ma'am.
That's Toes.
Yes, Toes and Moonies, we got...
You got Toes after the first cat died.
No, actually, we got Toes before the first cat did.
So you had Toes, and then you got a second cat, and the second cat died.
Okay. No, Toes and Mooney, Your Honor, was the very first cat that we had. When I moved into the apartment, we didn't have any pets. So Toes and Mooney, I got as both kittens, okay? And they were doing really great. Then the neighbors downstairs was about to move. They couldn't take their cat with them. That was Mischief.
Mischief you took, and Mischief died.
Correct, Your Honor.
Boy, Mischief died. And then Toes got sick?
Toes got sick probably about a month later.
And when Toes got sick, your former wife took the cat to the vet.
Yes.
and it was very expensive vet bill, she believes you should be responsible for the vet bill. And your defense is you told her that you weren't paying for the vet bill and that you told her that she should have the cat put down. And she felt as if it was not a good idea to put the cat down since the children had already lost one pet within a relatively short period of time. She now has toes.
Yes.
And the children didn't go through the death of another pet.
Yes, Your Honor.
So, when did Toes become ill, Mr. Laxon?
I came home on a Monday night after work and picking up the kids from school, and I saw him laying on the floor very still by the refrigerator, and I, nudged him a little bit with my foot. You okay, kitty, okay? And then I bent over.
How old was he?
Toes was probably only about 3.5 years old.
What did you do?
Well, when I bent down to rub him a little bit, make sure he was okay, I could see he was breathing. He opened up his eyes. I didn't move him, so right away, because Chris had worked with animals before, and I know she's pretty good authoritarian on cats, I called her up on the cell phone, and she called me back from work, and I said, can you please come over and look at him? I think he's dying. And she did. And then I said I'd watch the kids, and she would take him to the vet. I said, please have him put down.
Why would you say that, Mr. Laxon? So far, up until now, quite frankly, I'm crazy about you. But why would you, before you even found out what was wrong with the cat, tell them to put the cat down? Maybe it just had indigestion. Go ahead.
Well, Honor, I've worked around animals a lot, being from the Midwest in Iowa, and that, my cousin had a farm. I've never seen a cat or an animal like that being that sick, and knowing that the veterinarian bill would be rather expensive. We had a cat like that together in our marriage. He ended up being about $900.
But wasn't this cat part of your family? Lived indoors?
Yes, Your Honor.
Was with your children?
Yes,
right?
Your Honor.
Right, Mr. Laxon, how do you explain that to your children?
Well, Your Honor, I realized that it was a very hard thing to do, a decision that had to be made.
Even before said, you told her to put the cat down?
Yes, Your Honor.
You better hope that your children don't take the same approach with you when you get older. And they say, listen, I love my father-in-law, I love my mother, but, my mother took good care of me. She took good care of my cat. She spent whatever was necessary to take care of the cat. My father, on the other hand, said, listen, you're part of the family, we'll get another one. Put him down.
Well, Your Honor, I realized that being that expensive, the most important thing to me was always provide for my children first. $900 could go easy for clothes, food, a college fund, or, maybe even a couple more toys. I mean, another cat would actually be more cost effective. I do love animals very much. I love Toes.
Mr. Laxon, what you're saying is you can have an animal in your house for a substantial period of time, have an animal part of your household, and if it gets sick or if it requires expensive shots or something, you just say, listen, let's put this one down and get a new one, because I can use that money instead to pay for your college or to buy an extra pair of jeans or something. Why would I spend that on an animal that I can replace for nothing? Is that what I'm hearing, Mr. Laxon? That's what I'm hearing, sir.
I understand you're saying that. You can never replace love on an animal.
You're absolutely right, Mr. Laxon, and I guarantee you, if you gave your children the choice of whether they got an extra toy or whether their cat was given the medical assistance they needed, your children would say, take care of Toes.
That is correct. Unfortunately, as young as they are, they don't always understand the necessary things it is to be an adult and make important decisions to run a household.
Well, I'm talking to you about making a decision that I believe is in the best emotional welfare of your children. Children can get along without another toy. They can even get along, without an additional jacket, or they can get along without expensive sneakers. But it takes a while for them to get over the loss of a pet, especially when they're aware of the fact that the pet could have been saved with money, even money that you may have to pay over a long period of time. I want to tell you something, Mr. Laxon. You're gathering from what I'm saying, sir, that you don't have my sympathy.
I understand, Your Honor.
Good. Okay, so you took the cat to the vet, and what happened, Mrs. Laxon?
Well, I originally met Henry and the children at the golf lessons, and he told me off to the side that the cat was laying on the floor dying. So I said, I'll come over to your house, because if it's dead, the kids won't be able to handle it, and I'll take care of the kids. I got there, the cat was still breathing, and I said, I'll take him to the vet. I have an open credit card. If you'll pay my credit card bill back, I'll be happy with that. It's a zero balance. I won't charge anything else to it. He said, okay. So I took my daughter, who was 7 at the time, with me to the vet. She waited while they took the cat. I called Henry and said, they're doing these tests on it. It's going to be about $300 for the tests. He said, okay. About 10, 15 minutes later, they came back with the x-rays, the blood results, and they said, this is what's wrong with the cat.
What was wrong with the cat?
He had kidney problems, kidney infection. They weren't sure at first whether it was stones or kidney failure. He had blood in his kidneys, so they had to catheterize him. He was in the hospital for 5 days. Actually, he was in for 7 days. But I called him back and I said, this is going to run this much. It's going to be over $1,000 for the whole thing. What do you want me to do? He said, go ahead, we've already gone this far. I said, okay. So they took the cat. I took my daughter back to his house, picked up my son, and we left. The next day, from my understanding, Henry went down and visited the cats at the hospital. On Thursday, he called the vet. And on Friday, I went to pick up the children from his house. I said, how's the cat? Let me see him. He says, well, you know, you should have put the cat down. I told you to do that. It's your bill. You're stuck with it. If you want the cat, he's at the vet still. I said, that was never our agreement. I took our daughter with us. I would never kill a cat with my daughter in the room. He said, well, it's your problem. So I called the vet. I picked the cat up on the Sunday. He's now home with me. He's had medical treatments. He's doing very well. He's 14 pounds, and he just loves us to death. He's like a little puppy.
How many cats do you have in your house now, Mr. Laxon?
I have 2, Your Honor.
And you?
I have 4 now. Mine are very old, 15 years old.
That your former wife took your daughter with her to the vet?
Yes, Your Honor, that is correct.
Were you there when she took your daughter to the vet?
I was at the house when she took the daughter to the vet, yes, Your Honor.
And you want me to believe that she took the cat to the vet with your daughter there and they were going there for the purpose of putting the cat down?
Yes, Your Honor, because that's what I had instructed her to do.
Okay. When she came back, Mr. Laxon, and you found out that she had not put the cat down, and it was your cat, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you pick up the phone and call the vet and tell the vet to put the cat down?
No, I did not, Your Honor.
Why not, Mr. Laxon?
Because I depended on Chris to do that.
No. Listen, you just said to me, sometimes when you're a parent, you have to make hard decisions. And even though your children don't understand those hard decisions, that's what you have to do as a parent. So here, you gave an instruction to your former wife to put the cat down.
Yes, Your Honor.
Something that you could have done.
That's true.
Same way, you take your daughter and go to the vet and put the cat down. It's your cat, right?
You're right, Your Honor.
But you gave the cat to your wife with your instruction, according to you. Now, the same day you found out that this is not what she's going to do, you had 2 options. Either you let her go ahead with it, or you call the vet and say, this is my cat, and I'm giving you an instruction to put the cat down. You chose not to do that. You pay the bill. How much is the bill?
The total bill was $1,231.96.
Judgment for the plaintiff, that's all.
Bodies are excused. You may step out.
Well, actually, I really think it was a bad choice on her part. This actually allows people to now raise bills on your case and then turn around and put you with the bill.
I'm pleased with it. She saw the honesty in me, and she saw that he wasn't telling the truth, and she saw that it was all about the children, really, more than anything else.
I think there was probably a little bit more involved. Before in the past, when I got child custody from her, she always said someday she'd try to get the money back, and I think this is her way to try.
Our custody is 50-50. I'm very happy with the way things are, and I thought he was too.
Life does happen like this. Animals get sick.
Cynthia Aseltine and her daughter, 19-year-old Danielle Ireland, are suing Cynthia's former landlord, Sidney Neese, for the return of a security deposit, moving expenses, and damages from an assault.
All rise. Now it's case number 40 on the calendar in the matter of Aseltine Ireland versus Neese. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat.
Who is Miss Ireland?
I'm Miss Ireland.
Aseltine?
Aseltine is my mother.
Miss Aseltine, according to your complaint, you, not your daughter, but you, rented a room from the defendant.
Yes, ma'am.
And you found that room on something on the internet called Craigslist?
Yes, ma'am.
And signed a month-to-month lease.
I did.
When did you sign that?
March 1st, 2007.
Where had you been living before that?
I was residing in an apartment which I shared with my daughter, and she decided to move out on her own and get her own apartment. So I thought it would be good for me to move into a place where I could save a little money, maybe meet some new people, until I was able to purchase my own home.
How long had you been renting rooms?
I've been renting rooms for about 4 years.
What kind of property do you have?
I have a home in Elk Grove, California.
How many bedrooms?
5 bedrooms.
How many tenants do you have?
Currently 1.
How many tenants did you have when you had Miss Aseltine?
Just myself and Cindy.
And it was a month-to-month tenancy?
It was.
It is your claim that Miss Neese terminated your tenancy without proper notice, and you want moving expenses, your security deposit back, and you want damages because she, you claim, assaulted both you and your daughter.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Neese says that you are not entitled to your security deposit back because you promised that you were going to stay through April, and you didn't. It is her claim that you actually assaulted her. So let's find out when the trouble began. You moved in March 1st.
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
About approximately a week after I moved in, I noticed some strange behavior from Miss Niece. When I was in the home alone, and especially when I had company over, I would notice some outbursts. It seems she was talking to herself, kind of laughing out loud. She'd walk through the home when I'd have company over and bang anything that would make noise, opening and closing compulsively the garage door. The washer was close to my room, so she'd slam the washer door up and down.
Got it. Let's move on.
Okay. And I became just really uncomfortable in the home. I'd find myself, I'd sign up for overtime, I'd go to the gym, anything to avoid coming home because her behavior was really disturbing, uncomfortable. And so I noticed that it became more obvious when I had company over, so I decided to talk to her about it. So maybe I was doing something wrong. And so I came home, and so I knocked on her door. She didn't answer, so that's when I called her cell phone, and I found that she was actually at home in her room. And she came out, and I had a conversation with her, and I said, is there something bothering you, lately? Because I've noticed that you've been slamming things around, banging things. And her response was, bang? I don't bang. Bang? I don't bang anything. I said, oh, okay. Well, apparently, when my boyfriend's over, does he make you uncomfortable? No, I don't have a problem with your boyfriend. And I said, well, one night he spent the night here, and it seemed that you were really uncomfortable with that, and that's when I noticed the most noise. She goes, well, I didn't even know he spent the night. And she goes, well, it's in your lease agreement that you can't have any overnight guests. I said, well, I didn't notice that in my lease agreement. I apologize.
Was it in your lease agreement?
It was, ma'am, in my lease agreement.
Okay.
And I said, I respect that. And I said, well, that's something that I'm not sure if I can live with. I apologize. I overlooked that. And I said, if you feel real strong about that, then I think I might have to make a decision to move out. And I would go ahead and give you a proper 30-day notice. And she goes, okay, well, that's fine.
Fine. What day was that? That was in
Okay,
March?
that was of March. I sent her a copy, certified mail, which she...
May I see it, please?
Absolutely. That was sent regular mail as well as certified mail, which I have a receipt there. Ms. Niece never picked up the certified copy.
Okay, and you received this letter terminating
Yes.
her tenancy.
Yes, I have
Fine.
it right here.
Good. So what happened?
Okay,
What was
so
next?
things were a little still uncomfortable in the house, so I decided to avoid her as much as possible. About a week after giving that notice to her, I came home and found that she was interviewing another tenant, which I gave her the privacy. I had went and cleaned up and got ready to go back out again.
I haven't
She
even
then
you have a turn. Right now, plaintiff is talking.
Okay.
Go ahead.
After I had finished and cleaned up and the person had left, she had come and spoke with me and said, okay, well, when are you going to be moving your furniture out? I understand, I received your 30-day notice. And I go, well, I can start putting it in storage soon if you really need the space, because she was saying that she wanted to offer that space to the tenant. She goes, well, that's your right to keep it there for the remainder of the month. And, things seemed to be okay then, but she was still exhibiting some behaviors that I just didn't feel that...
I understand. You were moving out for a reason. Keep going.
Absolutely. And so I had received a phone call on March 31st. I was at the gym, and I received a message from Miss Niece. And on the message, she says that she's demanding that she have a face-to-face meeting with me and discuss the 30-day notice agreement and finalize me moving out. And so I was kind of, I didn't
Just
understand.
tell me what happened. Don't
okay, so
tell
I
me what
called
you
her
were
up,
thinking.
and I said, I got your message. What's the deal with me having to come over? And she goes, well, I want you to speak to me face to face. I gave you the same respect when you gave me your 30-day notice. And I said, well, I really don't want to have any confrontation with you. You're making me feel really uncomfortable and threatened. She goes, well, if you do not come home right now, I'm going to lock you out. And I said, you can't lock me out. And she goes, I'm telling you, if you don't come home right now, I'm going to lock you out. At that point, she disconnected the phone call. Me and my boyfriend were at the gym. I said, come on with me. She's threatening to lock me out. I need to go home. When we got there, me and my boyfriend entered the home, and Miss Niece was in the kitchen. She had already taken all my groceries out of the fridge and out of the cupboard and had set them up on the counter as if she was moving me out. I said, what are you doing? Please put my things back. You can't move me out. What's the problem? And at that point, she came around the counter of the kitchen with her finger in my face, and she goes, girl, you better shut your mouth, because in the name of Jesus, I'm going to smack the devil out of you. At that point, my boyfriend placed his body in between us because she was this close in my face, and he's that face to me, and he's like trying to block her. And she turned around, and she swung about backside of him and hit me upside the head. At that point, I grabbed my cell phone. She grabbed her cell phone. I called the police. She called 911. The police arrived, a female police officer. Police officer went and spoke to Miss Niece. Miss Niece had stated that she was going to be locking me out of the house, and the officer had stated, legally, ma'am, you cannot lock her out of the house. And she goes, don't you tell me how to run my household.
Can I see the police report, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, when did the incident happen with your daughter?
Same day.
Same day?
It was a little bit later on that day when I had came. The police officers had actually left at a certain point, and my mother had called my boyfriend and get a U-Haul to get all of her things, and we both ended up showing up at the exact same time as my mom with the U-Haul, and that's when I arrived.
And what happened with Miss Neese?
Well, we came into the house, and she was in her bedroom, had shut the door, and was in her bedroom, like the police officer told her to stay in the room. I went into this little front area that was right next to her bedroom door and started to grab furniture. And I grabbed this big glass top that was to one of my mom's coffee tables, and I started going out. And then Miss Neese came out of her room and was really mad and angry, and was directing a lot of anger at myself and at Ryan, saying that he didn't have any right to be in the house, and that was saying something about how we couldn't go through the garage door. She was telling us we had to go through the front door for some reason, and I was standing on my way to the garage door. She was really like livid and saying that we couldn't be in her house, that we had no right to be in there, and then she comes up behind me and grabs me by the back of my neck and like kind of pushes me and then kind of hits me. And then Miss Neese turned around to my mom and starts getting in her face, and she's throwing her hands wildly and stuff, and then she goes to make a fist like she was going to strike my mom, and I grabbed her arm and I put it down and I said, "Don't touch my mom." And then it just turned into a scuffle where she was just being really wild.
Okay, Miss Neese, I would like you first to tell me your version of the events of the 31st of March.
Okay, Saturday, March 31st, I initiated a call to Cindy to finalize things in the matter. She had sent me a letter March 20th indicating that she was going to move out at the end of April. And so I wanted to finalize things as far as obtaining the rent for April.
She already told you that she was going to give you the rent April 3rd in the letter.
Right. In my lease, it indicates, in the initial agreement that we signed, it indicates that if any rent is not paid time or in full, that they will forfeit the security. That's in item number 2 in our lease.
What difference does that make? She already said, "I'll pay you your rent on April 3rd. It's in her letter that she sent to you.
Because I just like to do things decently and in order. So
this is decently and in order. You called her on her cell phone.
I called her on Saturday and I asked, because she had initiated an appointment in mid-March. She wanted to see if her boyfriend could stay overnight, and she knocked on my door. Actually, I was napping, and she knocked on my door until...
Shh, don't interrupt her. I'm just asking you what you told her on March 31st. You called her, she's at the gym.
On March 31st, I asked her if she had any time in the afternoon. I said I'd appreciate if we could finalize things and, you know, get the rent. So then she started cursing at me, and she started getting really violent on the phone and calling me up.
Did you tell her she had to come home or else you were going to change the locks?
No, absolutely
not. Did you take her food out of the refrigerator? I'm speaking.
No, I didn't actually.
Did you take her food out of the refrigerator and place it on the counter?
No, not...
Did you tell the police when they arrived that you were planning on changing the locks and locking her out?
When she started cursing at me on the phone, because she, by the way, she's been pretty violent before, so when she came home from the gym, she came home and she kicked me, which I have a photo of the bruise on my leg from when she kicked me then. At that point, I had called the police because I had wanted to have her arrested. So when they came over, they kind of separated us, got both versions of what had happened. And so I didn't have her arrested at that point.
The police found you very agitated, Ms. Neese. According to all 3 police officers who arrived at the scene...
Well, she assaulted me. I have pictures. She admitted biting me on the arm.
There was an altercation. There's no question there was an altercation.
Well, I actually didn't touch her or her daughter. Both of them came home. She called her daughter, and they both came in, and then they assaulted me in my room. And that's why I had called the police a second time. When I was on the phone with the police, I was terrified. They said, "Where are you?" I said, "I locked myself in my room because I was afraid they were going to come in again." I have pictures of the door and from when they tried to barge in my door. All the bruises, they hit me.
What do you do for a living, Ms. Neese?
I'm an insurance broker.
For a company?
For myself. I have my own agency. And I'm going to school for court reporting.
So you operate out of your home or out of an office?
I'm usually on the road, but my office is out of my home, yes.
So you don't have an office other than at your home?
Correct.
And how long have you been doing that?
5 years.
Make a living at that?
Yes.
The last time you had a tenant prior to the plaintiff, what was that tenant's name?
Prior to Cynthia? She was the first tenant in that home.
So you'd never had a tenant?
Not in this home. When I was in the Bay Area, I've had tenants. She was the first tenant in this home.
Judge, I have some information regarding the tenants in the Bay Area.
Cynthia Aseltine and daughter Danielle Ireland are accusing Cynthia's former landlord, Sidney Neese, of 2 assaults.
Now, you wanted to say something?
Yes, San Mateo County Courts, there's 3 claims regarding Ms. Niece in regards to tenant-landlord. 2 times she was a defendant, and 1 she was a plaintiff regarding the same situation, withholding deposits
Can I see
and so
that?
forth. Actually, I didn't print it out, but if you go to San Mateo County Courts, it is public record.
You had 3 landlord and tenant actions while you were there. 1 is a plaintiff and 1 is a defendant.
I'm not sure what she's referring to, but it was just probably a lack of, my income. But with regard to
No,
this...
I'm not talking about. I'm asking you whether you had 3 previous landlord and tenant actions.
I think there was 1, and it was just because I was having problems, with cash flow, but they have since been paid back.
1 was that she put a stop pay on a deposit as a tenant herself.
That sound familiar?
I'm not sure what she's referring to, but I would appreciate if we could talk about this case today and why, I don't believe that I owe her this security deposit.
You absolutely owe her the security deposit. There's no question that you owe her the security deposit. You
Okay.
told her to leave. I've read the police report. You said you wanted her out that day. She left. She did not stay the month of April, despite the fact that she said she was planning on paying April's rent. You absolutely owe her the security deposit. There's no question about that.
Well, because she assaulted me, and I had to put out expense. She didn't return the key when she moved
I believe that this was an unfortunate circumstance, that everybody's tempers got very flared up.
Actually,
on that.
mine did not.
Well, not according
And
to
I
the
was
Miss
blatantly
Niece. According to the
I
police,
was
the only
blatantly assaulted by her and her
Miss
daughter,
Niece,
and her boyfriend had
I'm
to
telling
pull them
you,
off of me.
and the police department.
And when
I'm
she moved
speaking. When I'm
out-
speaking, don't speak.
Okay.
Clearly, not only did you claim that they were assaultive, you
I have
also. I'm
photographs of all
speaking.
the
I'm
assaults.
speaking. Do you hear me speaking? You also claim conspiratorial behavior on the part of the police. You weren't satisfied with the police officer who came. You demanded their supervisor. 2 supervisors arrived. They couldn't calm you down. You demanded their supervisor. So everybody is in a conspiracy against you. There's something not right, Miss Niece. All of that is clearly contained in the police report. I assume you have a copy of it.
The copy that I obtained from them does not contain that information. That's not what they had given me. They
May
gave
not
me
be what
1
they
line.
gave you, but that's what I have.
Okay, can I show you the pictures of my bruise?
Absolutely.
And actually, I still have them on my body.
Absolutely. Show me.
This is a picture of when she bit me in the arm.
She absolutely acknowledges that she
And
bit you in
then,
the arm, and she
a
says she bit
bruise
you.
on my
I'm
breast.
speaking. Don't you want to hear me speaking? She absolutely acknowledges that she bit you in the arm so that you would let her go.
Absolutely, ma'am.
Okay, can I tell my version of the story, ma'am?
When I contact the police department.
What had transpired, basically, the whole issue, when she first, in the initial ad, I indicated no alcohol, no overnight guests, and she breached both of those. She was drinking a lot while she was there, and she was having overnight guests, her boyfriend. And I never even said anything because I didn't want to get into it. But then she mentioned, she talked to me that one day, and I said, no overnight guests. Are you okay with that?
So she gave you
said,
notice.
yes.
Listen, I got it. I have other things to do today. She said, I'm moving. She sent you an appropriate notice that she's moving. Move on with it. Get to the 31st.
Right, but then she didn't pay the rent, and so I wanted
No. She has no obligation to pay the rent on March 31st. None. And if you demanded that she come home from the gym...
I didn't demand that she came home. I called her on the cell phone, and I said, do you have any time this afternoon? What's your availability?
I don't think you should have roommates. I don't think you should rent rooms to anybody. I don't. I think that you are a very, very nice lady who clearly should live alone, not with anybody else, because you can't make rules for adults. I mean, she's an adult lady. She's not a teenager. You didn't rent to a teenager. And if you don't like other people living in your house because other people aren't going to do things the way you do...
Well, it's not that I want to do things the way I want to do. But when I rented
a room,
they said no overnight guests. When
absolutely
I rented, they
right.
set their
And she said I didn't.
and I honored them. So if she didn't want to...
Do you take medication? Do you take medication?
No, ma'am.
You should. Because I've already told you 4 times, this is the 4th time, that when I start to speak, you have to stop.
Okay.
You can't. There's something that's not working right. You owe her security deposit, which was how much?
It was $500.
Did either of you seek any medical treatment for your injuries?
No, ma'am.
Yes, I did.
I'm not talking about you. Now, where did you move when you moved?
I was actually homeless for 8 days. I was allowed to stay at my boyfriend as roommate with another roommate, and he was out of town.
That's fine. Don't make up things as we go along. You weren't homeless because you were able to sleep someplace.
Well, yes. I mean, I was without a permanent
Fine, and then you found someplace.
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect. Whole thing is very, very unfortunate. Really, very unfortunate. You want to say anything to me? No. You want your security deposit back?
Absolutely.
You got it. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $500. Your counterclaim's dismissed. That's all.
Why does that excuse you may step out?
It's not that tough. It's not tough at all. This is stuck. Very much. That's the situation.